Yay!
We were just babbling. Well, I was babbling about the Corona stuff because, like, I'm one of those people where I really have to disassociate from the situation while I'm looking at it. Like, I still want to pay attention to it because it's, to me, I think it's serious, but at the same time, I can't get into the head of somebody who's suffering because I will picture and visualize absolutely everything.
That, and I mean, given what we've been experiencing with mainstream media news sources, and especially China, you have to really be wary of, lack of a better word, fake news. You know,
Yes.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of theories. I don't want to call them conspiracy theories. I want to call them theories because we don't exactly know all of what's going on. We can't.
Yeah.
We're not in those vocations where we're, sort of on the ground dealing with this kind of stuff. We can't know. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. Just take it all with a grain of salt, and hopefully just, like any sort of flu season, do your best, keep good sanitary practice, keep your hands washed, and just go about your day, because you can't let this kind of stuff affect it too much.
Yeah, it's the stuff on our end. I'm not as worried about. I mean, I made jokes, this morning about getting you and Elwyn out of Toronto in case we have to wall off Toronto, and anybody else that you recommend to us, we'll try to get them out too. Because I'm not that much of a savage, but the rest of them can fuck themselves.
I've got a few escape plans. One of them involves stealing my sister's car and getting the fuck out of here.
Then we could just wall off Toronto, and then you know what? We could send all the anti-vaxxers there because they can work their magic and prove to us that vaccines don't work.
No, like I said, let's just use Australia. We have this entire landmass where we can take out the people who need to get out of there, and then just put everybody else there. We'll put all the Bernie rats and the crazy people infected with AIDS and SARS and coronavirus, and we'll just put them all there and just let them do their thing. But hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome to the awkward conversation.
I know, right? Yeah, I have to stay away from like the videos that have come out of Wuhan. Like I said, it's when I can see their suffering, I like the humanitarian in me is just like I really feel for you guys. Like I have to be stubborn and be like, listen, you have to stay where you are and do the best you can. Just clean yourself to the best of your abilities. Don't touch your eyes for the love of fuck. Cover your mouth, do whatever you can, but like we can't save you right now. Like we don't have the ability to. All we can do is try to offer the best we can, and if there are brave Canadians who want to go there, or Americans, or doctors and nurses who think that they can go and help, I support that. I do. But just remember that if you go, there's a good chance you can't come back.
Well, we do a lot of good pathology research here in Canada, so the chances that we already have samples of the disease, the virus, are good. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest doctors just heading over there. We need the doctors. Don't go.
I mean, we do. It's one of those things where I do know that like there are humanitarians that are probably already gearing up to go, and I can't not support that because at least they can do something that might help somebody. I can't do that other than well wishes and watching. Like I probably watched somebody die this morning in that video, and I'm at this point I'm so used to seeing it. It's just a fact of life. It is. We live in a harsh world. Our lifetime, we are lucky to live as long as we do. And it's another reminder to me to just to remember that like I'm still surrounded by people that I love and I care about, and just to enjoy every minute of my life and every minute that I have to spend with them anyway. So. And
hi, Dr. Gunsky.
Hi, Dr. Gunsky. That was as deep as Jen is going to go. So let's do something more fun.
Sure. We have earlier I was on Bloodwing stream, and this caught my attention. It did when I was looking at the news to prepare for the show for today. But as things progress, there was a little bit more information. There's a big 7.7 earthquake in the ocean between Cuba and Jamaica. There's going to be a huge tsunami warning for surrounding area.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Earth doesn't like people very much these days.
Yeah, it's just Mother Nature going through PMS right now.
Yeah, I mean, these kinds of things happen all the time. It's just because of our hyperconnectivity. I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. We just get it more quickly, and it's always more in your face because everybody talks about all the stories of the day, and it permeates us, surrounds us, and binds all living things, sort of like the Force.
Well, it's also a reminder of just how small we are on the greater scale of this planet. In all honesty, it's really, the joke is that whenever the US coughs, Canada gets a cold. It's more like every time the Earth farts, we die. We just die.
Yeah.
That is the best analogy I've ever heard. I love it.
I know, right?
I'm just trying to picture where would the asshole be on it? Would it be like in one of the poles in the middle of the ocean? That's what you get for eating Taco Bell, Mother Nature. Ha! Take that.
That was intentional, Duck Dog.
I feel like you're heading an awful lot towards Mexico because I'm picturing like bean paste everywhere. But I'm sorry to anyone who is Mexican of origin. That's just all I know. Every time I see a recipe that's Mexican in origin, it's like you gotta show to me to more YouTube channels.
Wow.
And this tsunami warning said the quake could generate waves of 1 to 3 feet above normal in Cuba, Jamaica, Caymans, Honduras, Mexico, Belize. So hopefully people in those regions can stay safe and prepare for the oncoming onslaught. Thoughts are with you guys. May live out there. Ay, what a time to be alive.
This sounds like maybe somebody summoned Leviathan.
Quick, get Bahamut on the case.
You know what's interesting about what
go for
opinionated Scotsman said is he's not wrong. Like every disaster that's ever happened to Scotland has usually been an invasion from somebody else.
Those damn English.
That is true.
And the Nords. and the Nords.
Yeah, the Nords, the Germanic tribes, the Vikings.
Pretty much England. Buttfuckers.
Those damn Saxons. Oh boy.
Huh. So have you guys been keeping tabs on Newfoundland and all the snow that they got?
I've been keeping, relative sort of basically informed of what's been going on. Seen some of the pictures of that craziness.
Yeah. Oh man, what was it? Monday was after 2 weeks, finally reopened the schools.
Oh boy, yeah.
And then Sunday they just started opening up supermarkets. So whenever the mayor comes back and says even the plows come off the streets, that's dangerous when fucking 80 centimeters of snow had fallen.
Ooh,
yep.
You guys get it so bad.
Yeah,
this is.
Yeah, and they already had 150 centimeters down already.
Yep, that's because there's no, unlike the West Coast, there's no mountain range to sort of calm the weather patterns out on the East Coast.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's the irony of it? And I don't know if this is true from your point of view, Noof, but my impression of you guys is whenever you talk about the Western provinces, you think we're just like a frozen hellhole. And then you guys describe your weather to me, and I'm just sitting here yeah, I had that for 3 days, and I didn't have the snow. It was just cold.
Well, the best way is because I did some time out west there. I will have to say, The difference between the west snow and the east snow is how wet it is.
Yes.
Because like western snow is so dry comparatively from the island. It is like so heavy and moist, but it's perfect for snowball packing.
Yeah,
You know,
ours is
just
like it's called powder for a reason. Like when you
Yeah.
come out west, you're really gonna go skiing more than anything. Or if you do
Yeah.
like cross country skiing, it's great because you just slide past that stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, building stuff here, like every once in a while when I was younger, we would have the odd snowfall where it was just damp enough that you could maybe build a little fort. But honestly, our forts never got past our knees because it just doesn't hold.
yeah.
I couldn't make more than like a snow puppy because the snowmen would just by the next day. So
and yeah, Skittles, 2.6 feet is roughly 80 centimeters is roughly 2.6 feet. So we're talking almost 8 feet of snow. 8 feet.
Yeah.
8 feet. That's a lot of fucking snow. Yeah. No. That's 3 feet on top of the already 5 feet that they got.
That's basically sledding down from your second window.
Yeah, and there was plenty of videos of that too.
It's just the damage, like, I mean, if you guys, I imagine you guys try to clear it out as quickly as possible to limit the damage, but like it's water damage that you worry about because the shit does melt. It's moist snow.
Yeah, the city had lifted the ban off of dumping snow into the harbor because of, obviously, for emergency cases. But yeah, it's just so insane to see all that snow out.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's just like, yeah, there's a good reason why the reserves were called in. Very good reason.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's mostly when Vancouver calls in and you're just like, motherfucker, it was 10 centimeters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got an inch of snow. Boo fucking who.
Instead of using your torches to light your bongs all the time, just go out there and start melting the snow. Make yourself useful.
You don't even need like a shovel for that. You could just use a broom.
Exactly. Oh.
It was, at least for the rest of us, we can laugh at them for it. It's just, if Sora is listening, I'm not mocking you because I know you're from Romania, so any of your visits, you know what real snow looks like.
What killed the dinosaurs? Giant
AIDS. But yeah, no, it's at least one thing we all have in common, that we can mock certain people in our country for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody wants to piss on us Newfies because we talk funny, but yet we're just like, at least we can dig ourselves out of a snowbank.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't necessarily have ever really had an issue with Newfies. It's more of the jokes that I remember from the 80s that I had to forget once I hit the 90s, because later 90s was when we kind of started going into that oil boom. And between then and like the 2010, I never knew who the Maritimers were, so it was just like, you're all nice people. I never had an issue with that. I mean, the last election, I might piss in certain people's direction, but that's not directed at you.
Whatever, I don't care. Politics is just boring to me, anyways.
For us, it was more of just like we'd brought in so many people. I think the thing with Alberta, it was just more. It's more of the fact that we have so much to share. Yeah. And then we felt like everyone had turned their backs on us, and I know that's not the case, but that feeling is not a good one.
No, of course. It's
most of the friends that I knew were from either New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. They taught me how to smoke pot properly, even though I know people who disagree. I always had invitations to go there because they were like, you have to have a proper barbecue. You have to come here and have a proper barbecue because you guys don't do it right. You don't put enough shit on the grill.
Yeah.
I'm not a seafood fan though, so it's always been like, yeah, if you come here, we're gonna force you to eat seafood because we have the best seafood. It was just like, it doesn't matter if it's the best seafood. I think you understand. You're wasting products on me. I'm more the person who's just like, do you love seafood? Here, you can have my portion.
Give her that
I will
beef
say,
and
though-
pork.
Yeah.
And chicken. And weirdly enough, I didn't hate snails. I was like, if I just pretend you're a clam, because it's the only seafood that I've managed to eat, and I'm like, it's because you don't really have a
Ugh.
flavor. You don't really have a flavor. You just basically absorb any other flavor that you're in, and you're just a mussel.
Snails, the chicken of the sea.
I know, it's so weird. But the only reason I liked it was probably because it was absolutely smothered in like garlic butter. I'm like, well, if you
Well, there
absorb
you go.
garlic butter into anything, it's gonna taste good. So I was like, if you were to just give
Yeah.
me like a snail on a plate, I'd probably like, yeah, it tastes like dirt. Thanks. And then
Garlic
sorry,
butter,
I'm
butter.
ragging on the French because my dad keeps trying to convince me that frog legs are good, and I'm like, I acknowledge that they probably have more of a chicken flavor, but they're dry as hell, and I don't care how you cook it, they're dry as hell and stringy.
They are.
And
They very, very much are.
so
But you'll eat living snot in snails.
I know, right?
You are weird.
I am very weird. But like I
Hey,
said,
not. Sorry, go ahead.
well, yeah, it's just like I
I
said,
like reptile.
I pretended that it was a clam, and that's all I had to do. I just I didn't look at it when I put it in my mouth. I was just like garlic butter and just pretend it's a clam, and mind over matter is pretty good. It's just it doesn't work with fish. I think the thing is I'm kind of a bit of a super taster. And I can tell you this because there are certain crap foods that I will never eat. Like when you guys were talking about coffee and the creamers and like the syrups, I can't use them anymore. So back when I was working, I used to work at a Timothy's. I've worked at a Starbucks. They were made with cane sugar. I didn't have a problem with it then. But then they switched most of them over to like fake sugars. Like a lot of them are sugar free.
yeah.
Oh,
And-
those sweeteners. Oh,
And I can absolutely, even just a little bit, and I can taste it. And
it
it's
tastes
just,
like vomit.
it
tastes
does.
like crystallized vomit.
So
Yeah, it does.
you get what I'm saying? Like every, and it's in even the flavored coffee grounds have it. And it just boggled my mind that they went that route. I was
Yeah.
like, I know sugar is bad for you, but I would rather have sugar cane where I know what I'm tasting than something that tastes like vomit. Like, how can you tell me that this is healthy for me when it tastes like that?
Yeah, I don't get it how people can drink, diet sodas and everything. Because I love my Dr. Pepper.
Mhm.
I love my Coca-Cola. But if I ever, like Monkey became a diabetic or something, I would not drink diet. I would just cut it out. I'd be like, okay, fine. I had a
Yeah.
good run. I enjoyed the Coca-Cola at the time, but not going to be drinking diet.
So
Yeah.
I will say one thing, and the thing that concerns me about it is because I don't know what they've done with it. Like, I don't know if it's just really reduced sugar, but the Coke Zero, I didn't have a problem with. Like, it's just a less sweet Coke.
Right.
Pepsi has one now too, and it's the same. It's not as sweet. So
I like the original recipes that didn't use corn syrup. They used actual sugar.
yes.
Yeah.
Because it's the sweetness and it still has that sort of natural taste to it before it's either hyper refined sugars or and like I've said before, that's my sweet tooth is in the sodas. I don't eat much candy, even though Elwyn bought me 2 giant tubs of sour keys. I don't typically eat too much candy or refined sugars. I'll even drink my coffee black or whatever, maybe even a half a teaspoon of brown sugar.
Mhm.
But like you were saying, the hyper taste, I can taste when it's white refined sugar,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have the same taste as cane sugar or natural sweeteners like honey.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's got a weird aftertaste, and it's just, I'm sorry, I'm one of those people who knows what cyanide is supposed to taste like burnt almonds, right? Like, that's what I've been told. I'm sorry, I'm not going to trust something like that. If you're giving me a sugar that's reminding me of what like burnt almonds is tasting like, then I'm not going to continue eating it because my body is screaming, yeah, that's poison.
And
Don't
you're right,
do that.
Elwyn. I did ask for all the sour candies.
I'm
If
not
he
judging
doesn't
you
love
for
them,
that.
I'll take them.
You know what? Every once in a while, I crave gummy candies. But the thing is, a lot of the gummy candies out here, like, I don't know if you guys get Koala brand.
I think so.
Yeah, it's
think so,
probably
yeah.
across the board. So I don't know what it is about them, but like they're just not as good as I remember.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a lot of these candy companies are using high fructose corn syrups as opposed to actual sugars. And for me, it's not about like, sure, the gummy is sort of just the vehicle. I just like that sour.
Yeah.
So it could be hard candy, it could be gummy candy. It doesn't really matter to me as long as I'm getting that sour candy taste. Oh, I love it. I could sit there and just suck the sour off the keys and just throw the keys away if I wanted to.
I think for me the other thing too was more the texture. Like I find the corn syrup ones don't have the same texture. Now the fructose ones are actually not bad. Like the fruit juice gummies aren't too bad. Like they have a nicer texture too. But yeah, the texture changed with it, and
as long as they have that from concentrate fruit juice in the recipe, you do get that sort of more natural sweet taste. Even though it's a highly concentrated fruit juice, it's a lot of sugar. It still has a more natural taste to it.
Yeah. Now I don't eat this kind of stuff all the time anymore. Like, you know, I'm not judging you for it either. It's just every once in a while I'll have a craving for gummies, and I'm like, you know what? I've been good on my diet. I don't really give a shit if I buy like $1 or $2 of like gummies.
Wait, what? There's $1 or $2 of gummies?
We actually
spend like $20.
Well, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. We do actually have a couple of bulk barns. It's just I've worked in places where I've seen really, 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 really gross people going into bins. And my time at 7-Eleven killed it for me because there was an incident with a crackhead, and they like to put their rocks in the candy bin because it looks like hard sugar, like it looks like clumped sugar. And then they'll come in and they'll buy a few candies, and then, you know, they'll put the clump of sugar in, and then that's how they do their transaction.
Chat, you see what happens? You start talking about the French and they start showing up.
Hi, Sam.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Sam.
I might.
Sure.
I like Sam. But yeah, so anyway, back to the story. The crackhead going through the bin had like open sores, open cuts, and our manager wouldn't let us throw out the candy. So I've never really trusted a bin since. Now I know that that's not for every place. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure that the barns are pretty good about cleaning stuff. But
100%.
But yeah, when you're thinking about crackheads and the kind of shit that they get because they get into fights, and yes, they do. You know, I'm not crapping on everybody who's homeless or anything, but they get diseases and shit. And the thing is it's happened in our store twice. So I'd worked a night shift, had a guy come in with a stolen credit card that he decided to try to use because he was stupid. And of course, whoever owned the card had canceled the card, and the lady who was running the till, like, she's an absolute troll, but I loved her because she did it with class. So she just followed the instructions on the machine. She was just trying to make the card work. So she calls the number, and then our security guys who were supposed to stop in 3 times a night, well, they're just conveniently in our parking lot, and I'm like.
Perfect.
And they come in, and so the guy's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble because he's caught using a stolen card. That's a different kind of offense. We don't really deal with those, but the police do. So he goes and he books it across the parking lot and face plants onto the cement. And for some reason, the Beretta decided to bring him back into the store and then marched him around the coffee station. And then finally brought him outside and put him on a bin. And I was like, I had no problems with you like giving him a seat. I actually would have gotten you a chair. I don't mind you sitting him down. Like, I'm not opposed to you giving him some assistance because he's hurt himself. But we don't know who this guy is. He's using money here from a stolen card. There's a good chance he's done other things like needles. You don't want somebody bleeding in a store around food. No, exactly. So here's the thing. They don't keep all records, but they keep some records. So if you're on record for having a serious illness, like, you know, hepatitis C or D or B or any of that kind of shit, the police know about it because they have to handle you. Yes. So the police come back to us and they're like, yeah, he has a C.
Oh,
and I'm like,
that's brilliant.
No.
And so I'm like, well, I have no idea how to deal with this other than to like put plastic all over myself. So I taped plastic bags around my shoes and my legs. And then I covered my arms in as many plastic bags as I could, and I filled our bucket with bleach, and I poured bleach directly on the blood. And then I tried to like push it around with a broken mop stick, with some like paper towel, so I didn't have to touch it. And then tried to just like scoop it into a plastic bag. Went over it again with the mop and the proper broom or the mop. And I was like, and then the cops are like, oh, we were actually supposed to call the fire department. I'm like, I've never been taught how to deal with this. I'm just dealing with it as pragmatically as possible, which is bleach. As much bleach as I can.
I'm just trying to picture Jen wrapped up in like black garbage bags walking around like a robot.
Well, I was just
I'm
like,
not touching this.
I am not touching this. Well, like, but that one, you actually have to have a transferal of liquids. Like, I was actually probably safer than I thought, but I was just like, anything to keep the blood away from me was all I was thinking, and keeping it off the floor and keeping it from transferring from every other item. So like, I threw out the mop head because you can do that. Like,
Yeah.
They don't mind that much because, I mean, yeah, it's a $20 thing. Like, I think they're like $10, $20. I don't know. But that's replaceable.
Yeah.
So, and the bleach, it was the stuff around the coffee station that I was just like, I have to re-clean this whole thing. And that was what was scary because that's more hands-on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And so like, I tried to tell the Beretta guys, like, next time, like, I mean, hopefully this never happens again, but next time you have to deal with something like this, don't take them into the store. Like, offer them aid, absolutely offer them as much physical aid that you can, but you can't really do that because, but I mean, there's nothing you can do in that situation. Like, I honestly just do what the cops tell me to do. It's pretty much all I did. I was just like, I'll offer you my witness, and the girl at the till, like I said, I was glad she was there because she's so chill about everything. she's one of those people who I swear was born stoned. She doesn't get high. She doesn't drink. I think she was just born stoned. So she was just like, I don't need it, man. I already am. But she was great for dealing with that because she just dealt with all the people. I was like, you deal with the people, I'll deal with the mess.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then I had to sit down with my boss because I think they were afraid I was going to sue them. And I was just like, you don't understand. I'm too naive to know this. Like, this is me looking back 3 years afterwards and like, oh, I could have sued you boys. Because you didn't give me any training about that. I should have known about the fire department thing,
And then suddenly TOS is updated pretty quickly.
Oh, is Sam in here? I didn't look, so. Oh.
I don't know. I can't see. Oh, we get into the news already? All righty. So in sort of breaking Canadian news,
oh God.
Peter MacKay has announced his Tory leadership bid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about him as far as leadership would go, so that's something I'm going to have to look into. It's good that we have a experienced, newer face for the Tory bid, because the Conservative Party's kind of been in limbo. Nobody really liked Scheer. And he gets into it. Peter MacKay, after more than a 4-year hiatus from politics, because he retired not too long ago, former cabinet minister Peter MacKay officially launched his bid to capture the leadership of the federal Conservative Party before an enthusiastic hometown crowd in Nova Scotia. So not a Quebecer for once. MacKay made the announcement at the Museum of Industry and a small crowd of about 200 people. He said he's running because the current Liberal government is making the lives of Canadians harder, and he doesn't want to stand by and hope somebody else can get the job done. I can respect that sentiment. Because, yeah, the Liberal Party here in Canada is making our lives so much harder than it needs to be for no reason.
Just pure incompetence. It's pure incompetence.
He even goes on to say, I'm here to stand up and do my part to help unite this country, to put shoulder to the wheel and with others to help build a better life for us all. Okay, so taking it with a grain of salt, yeah, that's, political pandering, sure. In his 23-minute long speech, MacKay touted his experience as former defense minister and stressed the need for leadership that will assert Canada's place in the world. He took a swipe at the PM, JT, and he said, leadership on the world stage, serious diplomacy to advance Canada's interest requires authenticity of actions, measured by outcomes, not selfies or photo ops. Canadians have had enough of posturing that produces no results. Thank you. That's resounding the sentiments of the majority of Canadians right now. Even people who voted for him are sick of his bullshit, but they're lifelong Liberal voters, so they're not going to vote Conservative. And I know you didn't, Jen. I didn't. We didn't vote Conservative because they're barely competent as well. We voted PPC because we liked the leader's message. There just wasn't that drive and that history behind the party. So there's been a lot of loss of faith in our two main political parties here in Canada, and we've more or less just been stuck with voting for one or the other. So to change the face of the party, to maybe do some more good and think Canada first, maybe, possibly. I mean, I wasn't a fan of his. He was what was he? He was the defense minister under Harper.
Yes, he was.
And he stepped away from politics in 2015, but I wasn't a fan of Harper and his government for the most part. They did do a couple good things here and there that I could get behind, but I don't know too much about that, Rage. Again, I personally don't know too much about MacKay himself and what he would do as a leader. I'm just I've been clamoring at the bit for just somebody other than Scheer to maybe rein in the Conservatives and not be the same coin as the Liberals. And being a classical Liberal myself, I would like a return to liberalism from the Liberal Party more than anything. But oh my God, there's just no clear winner in our country.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. Like, I feel like we're stuck between a wall and a hard place, and it's just looking anywhere for anything. I wish Maxime was a stronger leader, because I do believe in his message.
I think he's a strong leader. He just doesn't have the base yet, and he doesn't have the exposure. Like Rage is saying, he needs to start getting in the news now.
Yes.
And he's been trying. Obviously, over the holiday season, he kind of took a couple steps back, spent some time with his family, licking his wounds from the election and the trouncing that him and his party received. But I'm hoping in the next year and two, we're going to see a lot more from the PPC, and hopefully the message can spread, and hopefully it'll resound with the Canadian populace that, yeah, the Libs, the Tories, they're both failing us. Maybe we should try something different like we did in the earlier days of the NDP, not the Communist Party of Canada, but when they actually transform into the New Democrats under what's his name? The guy, Jack Layton. They were a little bit more middle of the road liberals, but they weren't full blown communists like the outset of the party. They made some ground, and then they quickly lost that ground because then they started pandering to the commies, the social justice nuts, and all these other retards who really have no business in politics, because as soon as they open their mouth, you can tell you have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. You stupid communist moron.
So on that note, I am just letting you guys know that tonight I think I will stream the group that I'm in for the Wexit movement. So they're not technically Wexit movement. They're United Alberta Independence, just because the two are separate groups. But that one is a legit.
They're the more rational ones, right?
Yes, they're the more rational ones, and they actually have a legit political group. Like, they actually have a party in Alberta
and ideas to start tackling the problems that are plaguing Western Canada. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because they've been reaching out to me a lot on Discord, And I mean, you know, I thank them. I don't want to be involved. I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, someone from the other side of the country who's curious and wants them to be successful and be, you know,
Yeah.
fruitful and
Yeah.
and safe and happy as Canadians. But I don't want to be directly involved because I don't believe it's my place to be involved.
Oh, that's okay. Like the only reason I kind of want to stream it is because it has been quite a while since I have, and I want to see where the updates have been with them, because there's a lot that's been going on. Like there was an interview with Peter yesterday, and he is the leader of the Wexit group, but like he's kind of an asshat. No offense, Peter, but you're kind of an asshat. Just because like he doesn't want to work with anybody, and we're just like, okay, listen, we're not going to get anything done if you're not willing to work with anybody, because we are still kind of in the middle of a country. We are part of a country, and we are still in the middle of.
And it'd be foolish to throw that away.
Yes,
it really would.
We do have to work with these people, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with us being more independent. And if later down the road we go our own way and go to the U.S., I don't know. We don't know right now, because right now we're being run by lunatics. You know, everyone talking about Wexit, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to run away from a problem that we should actually be tackling, because running away from it isn't going to stop it from growing. And I think I'd rather stick with being here and tackle the problem, because it's just, like I said, it's going to get worse. We have a guy who's willing to let a disease into our country. He's willing to put his own people at risk because he thinks he's being a humanitarian. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not being a humanitarian. That's putting 37 million people's lives at risk.
Yeah, that's putting infected people on your soil, endangering the lives of every Canadian.
Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to show support to the people in Wuhan. Like I've said that repeatedly before. Like what I'm seeing there,
we can give aid.
I absolutely support giving aid, because I could see something like that happening in our country, and I wouldn't want people to turn their backs on us entirely either. But at the same time, though, to protect the greater good of everybody, which isn't just us, it's also the U.S. because we are connected to the U.S. It's also Mexico because we're connected to Mexico. And here's the thing:
entire continent.
We're bringing in refugees, you know, so we have to protect them too. Right. So we have to be responsible for everybody who's coming in and out of our country. And that has to stand with China. And
flora and fauna too, because like we've covered previously on the stream, they're specifically concentrated in Alberta, 14 invasive species from basically China and surrounding area that are upsetting our ecosystems. Like we cannot keep we can offer aid and we can offer support in whatever ways we can, but not at the cost of our own health and safety. And that's something that this fucking retard in chief we have as our prime minister just doesn't seem to understand. Hey, Inked. How you doing, love?
Hi, Inked. Yeah, Rage, I'm just answering your question. Sorry, I went into my little rant because, like I said, I really do feel for these people. I repeat, like I'm saying people because they are people. You got to
remember that the populace is not the Chinese government who are the assholes. At the end of the day, these are just people just trying to make their way through life as we are, as citizens of a country. Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's why I get impassioned. And I just this is why the last 5 years I've been so prickled with the left, because I am a conservative, but they want to treat me like I don't have a soul in my bone. And just by being conservative, just by being white, that I automatically hate people. I don't hate anybody. If I was the kind of person who could help people in this situation, I would be doing the best I can to do it. You know, I would be trying to do my best to make something that maybe they can use, you know, as a vaccine. I would be doing my best to do that. I'm not that person. but I can at least hope for the best for them and do the best I can to protect as many people as I can on my front, which is like keeping myself clean, you know, being clean out in public, you know, and yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a classical liberal. I hate people, but at the end of the day, I respect their right to life and their right to live their life how they choose. I don't like people. I like my people.
Of course,
I take care of my own.
But you know what? My people come in all shapes and sizes, and I've never had a problem with that. It's always just trying to get used to people and figure out, okay, where can I lean with my jokes with you, and where do I get you prickled? Because I might lean on both randomly, but at least I want to know which one I'm going with when I choose.
Yeah, and
if I'm going to upset you, I want to know exactly how I'm doing it, so I can do it again sometime, maybe.
I need to know where the buttons are and when to push them. Information is ammunition.
And how are we all today, anyway?
Good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Had my first masturbation addicts counselling session today. It was pretty exciting.
Ooh.
It's a group session next week. Apparently, they're having an ex-porn star coming.
You had a masturbation session? I totally just missed that.
That's a joke.
I heard masturbation, and I was just like, "Where can I sign up?" But in talking about how our dumbass in chief keeps sacrificing Canadian well-being, we have this next story, which so he says that there's going to be no security risks in a Chinese takeover of Canadian satellite firm, and this is dangerous because. Yeah. Laugh it up now. But this company, Norsat International Inc., supplies radio transceivers, systems, and satellites used by the American military, NATO partners. And this was once a very proud Canadian company. Again, you know, we like to tout our own horns when we have the right to. We did a lot of good for telecom and innovating in telecom, and this company Norsat is one of the big ones. So to allow a company like Hytera Communications, a Chinese firm, to come in and buy it out of the, sure, the private business, but I've been saying, and again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Stop doing business with China. Stop selling parts of Canada away to China. I don't care if it's government-owned land or if it's private companies. Stop selling it to them because, sure, let's don our tinfoil hats for a minute here. Now that means that, with Huawei, Hytera, they now have their insidious communist fat, ugly fingers in every aspect of our communications. How are you going to start the attack on a country? Well, you can shut down their telecom. You can throw a gremlin into the works and fuck everything up. They could land on our shores. We wouldn't know until it's too late.
When you're selling to China, I was just going to say, when you're selling to Chinese companies, you have to understand. Yeah, sure, private businesses and all that. You're selling to a government. You are selling to the Chinese government.
Yes,
and they will leverage that.
They own all these companies. At the end of the day, Hytera, they're owned by the Chinese government. The property that's being bought up by Chinese nationals as well as foreign corporations from China. Again, at the end of the day, at the end of the chain, all owned by the Chinese government. Who in their right mind would trust the Chinese government with anything? We have companies who went over there because it was supposed to be the next big, tech gold rush and everything. They had to deal with the Chinese government, and they came back to North America, to the United States and Canada and the UK, because they were like, no, fuck that. We don't want to deal with that nightmare anymore. It's hard enough dealing with a Western government who's too overreaching in business. Why would we deal with one that's insidious and insipid in controlling every aspect of business? No.
Give it 10 years, they'll be banning Winnie the Pooh in Canada.
If they haven't already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I mean, the article goes on more about it, and, the puppet in chief really just keeps reiterating, no, it's fine. Don't look over here. Look over there. Look over there. Don't. Oh my God! It's the oldest tactic in the book.
It's economic domination. China knows that they can't take the world by military force, and so they're going to try by other means. It's America does it with its peacekeeping. Europe's doing it with its hyper bureaucracy, or attempting to. China's doing it economically. It's it's just a big chess game to these people.
Mm-hmm. And we've actually, most of the time I would not be in favor of this, but we got to walk away from that chessboard and say, no, we don't want to play with you. You don't play fair. You don't play ethically. And you manipulate the rules. So I'm not playing with you. That's why, again, I don't want to see military action against China because, again, most of those people are just citizens. They don't really have much say in what would be going on. They'd be just there to fight and die for the country. It's the government that I want the entire world to basically quarantine them as far as doing trade with them. We don't have to embargo them or put sanctions or whatever. Just say, no, we're not doing business with you.
Look how they've handled Hong Kong. Look how they're handling this coronavirus epidemic. Do you really want that? Because that's what you get with China.
Yeah.
Lies, deception, manipulation, distortion, and censorship.
Yeah, Scotty, I have to re-air my joke, but electing Trudeau was like getting constipated, and then electing him twice was like shitting and then putting it back in.
Yeah.
Human centipede, anybody?
No.
The worst part is, in that human centipede, Justin Trudeau's at the front.
Yeah, exactly. So he shits on the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, to answer your question, we cannot impeach our prime ministers. They have to be voted in a no confidence vote.
Yeah. It's a similar sort of thing in concept, but different.
Yeah, there has to be very clear and decisive action to even bring up a vote of no confidence.
Manifest observable behavior.
Yeah, if only. But no, like things like, actual crimes committed, actual treason, like provable without a shadow of a doubt, to even get to the point of bringing up the vote. So the best way that we can deal with that is just try to get the word out there, get as many normies and people who aren't as educated on the goings on, who don't really keep up with politics, that this stuff is happening. And that maybe in the next election cycle, you might have to bite the bullet, some of you liberals out there, and say, you know what, I'm just not going to vote liberal this time because these people are insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be opposed to if a new leader, a new face of the Liberal Party took them in going back to traditional liberalism. I could get behind that, but as it's looking right now, it's not going to happen.
It's so difficult to sell traditional liberalism, though. It's this, they've really the post-progressives, as I like to call them, the regressives. They have got such an easy sell with, here's a bunch of free shit, and we're going to tax the rich, and it's so very difficult to counter-sell that. Oh yeah, we're going to cut back on social programs, and also we're going to let companies do this, and we're going to protect our. We're going to protect our private businesses, and we're not going to let. That's very, very, very difficult to sell, particularly to people who are, never Tory. And it's unfortunately those people that you need to kind of bring on board. It's very difficult.
Yep, really is. And having, I really, the pros and cons of a two-party system. I still would, even with the two-party systems, majority two-party systems that we have, having strong representation, whichever side you personally stand on, whether you're more conservative or more left-leaning, having strong parties on either side of the aisle makes for better politicking, because they can't play these games of sound bites and all the shit that we've seen in the last couple decades in North American politics, because you actually have to bring forward that good ideas and addressing problems and having good potential solutions for these problems, because that's going to make you a strong party. Again, going back to the People's Party of Canada, they did that, but they just didn't. They were too new. They were too fresh. Not enough normies knew about them. They were being censored in media and not having representation. I just want strong parties, because that's how we're going to. And I'm not talking centrism here, people. I'm talking just compromise, because one side might have one way of dealing with the problem, the other side might have another way. One might not be right or better than the other, but if you at least sit down at the table with your opposition, you might come up with a third idea that could be a decent compromise for both sides, and at the end of the day be more effective than the original ideas. The key point is to have strong parties, strong ideas, and sit down and talk.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fight. Like I said, I don't think we have a problem with that. It's just you have to understand that historically we on the conservative side, aside from Harper, like we haven't felt a lot of the bending, or the weaving. Because the thing is I agree with you. I absolutely do agree that weaving ideas is not a bad idea. Like Alberta, I like to think of Alberta as a province of engineers. We are the kind of people who like to solve problems, and solving problems mean that sometimes, you have to bend ideas. Sometimes you have to mix ideas, but we have to know that the other side, and I agree with you, the Liberals have to maybe I don't know, take a look into what it is that our side is saying too. Don't just assume and I'm not saying you functional. I absolutely know that you know that there are tons of conservatives much smarter than I am.
Well, I mean, the traditional liberal like me, because the Overton window is basically on wheels these days, I'm on the conservative side, because I look at the Republicans, I look at the Tories here and across the pond, and I'm like, yeah, I relate more with you guys now, and I'm not even a conservative. But because you guys are rational for the most part. You have better ideas, and you're willing to say the tough things that people on the left are kind of like, "Ooh, you can't say that. That's racist." Why?
They want to conserve liberal values, functional. That's the thing. I've long said it. Conservatism is liberal in its endeavor. It's there to conserve freedom. Not this.
Well, they're the ones who clung on
bullshit.
to the individualism.
Exactly.
The conservative,
which is the essence of liberty.
Yeah. It all starts with the individual. Now, I mean, we can go off onto down the road more things, like I believe in strong social nets and safety programs and such, but not to the extent where the Gibbs. Oh, I just hit my mic. Like you were saying, just the free shit. Here, Gibbs. No. I think you still have to work and pay into the systems before you should be able to have any access to these Gibbs.
You have to contribute if you're going to take out. Look, there's a limited amount of resource, effectively, at the end of the day. Call it whatever you want. Call it finance. Call it land wealth, whatever. There's a limited amount of it, and if you want to have the propensity, if you want to have access to the potential of the sort of resources of society, you have to be prepared to actually put in. You can't just keep taking out.
And when times are tough, you have to be able to scale that back.
Exactly. You need to. It's become an abusive relationship between those doing all the work, those needing to take out or wanting to take out, and then you've got this bunch of people at the top who are effectively meddling in elections by saying that they're just going to give all this free shit away.
Yeah. Buying
and
votes
then
through that and through mass immigration programs.
Yeah, they effectively when they gain power, they deliberately impoverish or import impoverished groups of people in order to cement a voter base.
Yeah,
And
because
that is,
I can
short of,
understand that, because if I'm coming from a shithole country and this new country saying, "Hey, come on, we'll take care of you, we'll provide for you, we'll help you," well,
we'll expect
I'm going to
nothing
look at
of
that
you.
group of people who brought me in and say, "Well, I'm thankful for you. I'm going to vote for you."
Exactly.
Because I don't know about your political system, but you were the guys who gave me these handouts.
Yeah,
Sure.
Look, the vast majority of people coming into Canada, into France, into Germany, the UK, America, that kind of. Do you think they really give a shit about racism? No, that's a fucking first world issue that the sort of upper middle class academic socialites. That's what those people are concerned with. Your average sort of like say called Syrian refugee, he's faced significantly more issues, depending on obviously exactly where in Syria he's from. He's dealt with people potentially wanting to kill him and his family because of slight fucking sectarian differences in terms of religion. He doesn't give a shit about stuff like racism, so he's not going to look into the things that we would say about actually no, it's the progressives that are the racist ones. It doesn't give a shit about that. All he is going to see is these people are offering to give me free shit. These people are wanting to dial down the amount of free shit I've got access to, or potentially deport me out of this country if they find my paperwork to be lacking.
Yeah,
it's obvious where his interests lie when it comes to a vote.
We're experiencing that really heavily here in Ontario. We have a teacher strike basically going on right now, and our province has declined as an economic powerhouse in Canada. So yeah, we can't. One side is saying, "Oh, well, they're making all these cuts." Well, no. The government doesn't want to make cuts. They're just not increasing funding right now because we need to tighten our belt. And
they're trimming it back to what it was before.
Well, we're not increasing anything. We're not increasing anything. Exactly. And one side is screaming bloody murder. Oh, how can you do this to children and blah, blah. And the other side's going, well, no, we're just saying, hey, we're in a little bit of a tough time right now. We don't have the resources to increase as much as we'd like or as much as you would like. So, we'll meet you halfway. They offered the teachers unions a 1% pay increase when they're demanding a 2% increase. And the teachers side, the union side, is saying, well, they're not even coming to the table and not even willing to discuss this. Well, they came at you with half of what you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is, I'm not being fucking
the
funny,
definition of coming to the table and talking about it.
Exactly. And not only that, but like, how much is it worth? Honestly, like seriously, like how much is it worth? It's sure there are politicians
we don't pay our teachers well either. The average, the starting salary for a teacher right out of college, $38K a year plus benefits. Obviously, you're only working 8 months out of the year, but you're making salary, so you can supplement that income if you so choose. Yes, you do have to put in a couple extra hours, several extra hours over the week because it's part of your job. Your job doesn't end in the classroom. You also have to make the programs and deal with extracurricular stuff and all these other factors. Sure. But this is what you're taking on. Nobody said you had to be a teacher, first of all. But the other thing is the average income. So, you've been a teacher for a few years now. The average income is $50,000 a year plus all these benefits.
Jesus.
And so that's a fairly decent income, even if it is monopoly money, Canadian dollars.
You could afford to live on your own in a semi-rural part of Canada like that. You don't even need a second income into the house at that point.
Yeah,
sure,
I mean, some
commute,
places like if you're living in Toronto, that's not really a decent.
Well, in Toronto, obviously, that's not.
Again, those are outside factors that are hyperinflating our housing economy in many places in Canada. And it's not good. Again, through all the reasons we just covered, over immigration, too many Gibbs, this, that, and everything in between.
Unless you're in Alberta, because our housing is it's pretty cheap right now. Actually, you should move out here.
It has increased fairly regularly, but it's not experiencing by any means the amount of hyperinflation that's happening in Southern Ontario and Southern Quebec, for sure. Oh my God. I just looked at a 2-bedroom townhouse today that is in probably one of the shittiest parts of the greater Toronto area. $3,000 a month plus utilities. That's disgusting.
Oof.
That's disgusting.
Oof.
So talking about taxes, so like there's this thought in my head that I just picked up because of this, and it's cornering the carbon tax. So you know how I told you that, like, you guys are getting your returns for the tax, right? I'm okay with not getting the returns. The problem is they're still taking the tax. And I'm sitting here as an Albertan going, like, so if you're taking carbon tax from people and you're not giving it back to Albertans, who are you giving it to? So I know that they're giving it to you guys. And I'm like, okay, well, that's really kind of shitty, but whatever.
They pay off for the Chinese people.
You know, and
well, yes, there is the transfer payments, but most of, excuse me, most of those kinds of payments are going right back into our government-controlled cartels of, like, the dairy industry.
Yeah.
Which we shouldn't be funding them at all. Sink or swim, buddy. Sink or swim. If you don't have a financially viable company and industry, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be getting millions and millions of dollars over decades.
I mean, I can appreciate wanting to sort of, like, when you've got big industries like the dairy industry and all that kind of thing. Obviously,
prevent a collapse.
Yeah, you don't want to just simply permit a collapse. I understand the economic whys and wherefores on that, because then basically you're going to end up with 150,000 people losing their jobs, something like that. Is that what Canada's dairy industry is probably around those sort of figures?
Probably about double that, 300,000.
Yeah, 300,000 people. That's an awful lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah, and then that's lost export. That's lost. That's people in Canada who dairy is a pretty big part of a lot of people's lives.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I get that, but as an Albertan, my focus is more on the things in Alberta that I would rather see our carbon tax be used for. If it's not going to go back into our own province, I'd like to see them use it to hire people to go up north to clean up the underbush up there properly. Because they keep harping on about how the carbon tax is supposed to be for our environment. You know what would be really good for our environment? You know what would be really good for our environment is if they would hire people to go up north to do what they're supposed to do to clean up the underbush, and do it like between February and March, when, fires is usually how they do it. You're not going to have an issue because there's snow everywhere and it's easier to control.
Yeah, backburning and the sort.
And I'm sitting here like I'm looking at Australia, and I'm thinking about the last couple of years where we've been fucked because we're being bamboozled by a bunch of morons who think that we're stupid, and I'm just like,
they think you're. I'm going to admit a lot of people here in the central area think that Western Canadians are a bunch of hicks. That's couldn't be further from the truth.
Sorry, like it just occurred to me, like I'm looking outside, I'm like, this would be a really good time of year to go and clean out, because it's not too cold, like it's fairly nice out. It's damp, like everywhere's fucking damp. Now would be the best time to do it.
I mean, even if you put aside like all of the issues with the nature of a carbon tax in general, and let me just say, I can go into further detail on this some other time. But the whole carbon fucking tax thing is bullshit in principle.
It's a lie. It's a complete lie. Because if they were sincere, what I'm saying right now,
you know what, Greta, fuck off.
What I'm saying right now would be an honest solution. It would be an actual thing that would help. But that's never going to happen, because they don't give a shit about our environment, and they don't give a shit about.
Of course they fucking don't. They live in manicured fucking villas and the like in the wealthiest parts of the fucking country. Doubtlessly they have holiday homes all over the
heading across the world in private jets and luxury vehicles. No, of course they're the biggest hypocrites of all.
Fucking even Greta Thunberg's parents are like relatively fucking wealthy. Like, come on, yeah, as if you ever had to breathe in the fumes of the city. Fuck right off.
Yeah. And absolutely refuse to preach to places that are actually turning their environments into shitholes, like China,
India, certain places in Brazil.
On their best days, don't even come
Malaysia.
close to North Americans on their worst days. as far as like smog advisories.
There's so many Asian countries that are just absolutely bamboozled by plastic in their waterways. Like, you know, they don't even know how to
waste. Look at India.
like
They've been dumping human waste into their, what's the river called?
Ganges.
The Ganges. For what, a century now? Maybe
Millennia,
more?
try.
Millennia? Yeah, we're talking dead bodies. We're talking human excrement. We're talking garbage. And none of these activists, these environmentalists, want to talk to them about that. Gee, I wonder why. Because those countries will turn around, and if they're on their soil, they'll probably put a bullet in their brain.
Yes, exactly. If a Greta Thunberg could never
proper tech support.
Greta Thunberg will never be.
Have you tried plugging it in, my friend?
But like here I am legit with like honest concerns about things that bother me. Like I don't like the idea that we have problems with our forestry industry up north, because it's an easy solution. Like, you know, I don't mind our province putting our money into our province for things like that, because I know it protects homes for people who work up north.
That's the point of fucking taxes.
Exactly.
That's the only reason we agree to pay for them, is to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
Like
it's almost like an insurance.
Like and they're not doing that. And I know they're not doing that. And I know that they're taking money from people who need that money, And that's why I can't forgive Trudeau. And I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if I trust Jason Kenney, because I'm just like, you're still letting that happen.
Yeah, he's a weasel. He's the same person on the other side of the coin. They're literally the same person. And this is what I was talking about of having strong parties. We don't have any strong parties.
You know, I was hoping to give him time. You know, like I did legit want to give him some time, because
give him some of the benefit of the doubt, sure.
You know, but I'm just like, I'm seeing this, and it's just you just feel so betrayed over and over and over again, and that's why you get people who are just like, I just want to run away.
Yeah,
I absolutely.
You know what? As a liberal Republican Frenchman, I advocate a return to feudalism, because if a king starts misappropriating taxes, not defending the fucking nation, and all that kind of thing, just guillotine him.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have a revolt, and
exactly.
And
it's a lesson to the next person who will look at that and go, "Yeah, you fuck up, that's going to happen to you."
Yeah, exactly.
We're giving you the benefit of the doubt, but if you fuck up that badly, that's going to be.
Trudeau would never be such a colossal cunt if there was a threat of him having his head cut off. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing the idea out there.
I'm just saying one other thing, though. If we ever have fires like we had in the past, if he refuses to let fellow Albertans go up there to help like he did last time, because I was hired to go up there, but it was canceled because he decided to hire a crew from Ontario.
Oh, yes, because they have so much experience fighting forest fires.
And we were just like, do you have any idea how
they
that
do, but it's not really their place when they have the resources at hand to deal with the problem in their own province.
Exactly.
Like
he wouldn't have done the reverse. He wouldn't have called Albertans over to Ontario to do the contracts.
It was such a backstab, because I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to go up there and meet fellow Albertans and try to do my best to help salvage as much of their lives as possible. And that makes me cry. Oh God, that one lost my mind when he did that. Because
how does this fucker even manage to get elected?
I don't know.
Because we're a very liberal nation, and a lot of people, myself included, the first time around, were suckered into believing, he had his father's legacy, which, as a liberal, I did like his father. He was a no nonsense, spoke his mind, but he was still a classical liberal. And it's the Liberal Party, so the base voted, the more moderates voted for him, and immediately most of us regretted it. We were sort of like, oh shit.
Oh, so he's a mommy's boy. That explains so much.
Yeah, no, he's not strong. He's
Yeah, that's
not.
pretty much it.
He doesn't have cojones. He doesn't have a spine. He's a weasel, and he's a corporate shill. And he's not even a semi-benign corporate shill for, like local corporate interests. He's outright selling parts of Canada to foreign corporations like China.
Does he even have real with a mandate to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, technically under the law you can.
But surely that would require a fucking full concession of Parliament or something, though, right?
Well, there's no real laws on the books to prevent it from being sold to private interests who can act as mediators, or even other corporate entities. Yeah, we're cucked. Or corporate entities that could be handled by a third party. But even still, again, like we brought up earlier, they're still owned by the government of China. So there's ways of circumventing it that we're doing nothing to combat.
You also know niggers need a constitution. I'm just saying.
What we need is an electoral college style system where the major population centers of Ontario and Quebec in the southern regions aren't dictating all federal policy and all federal elections across the board. It would be like if New York and California had basically, if it was popular vote, they would have all the say. Politicians wouldn't canvass anywhere else. They wouldn't promote themselves anywhere else. All they'd have to do is go to New York and California and be like, well, the rest of the country can go screw because there's not enough of you to care about you.
I'm just saying this as a joke. Don't take it seriously. But from an Albertan to a Newfoundlander, do you ever kind of look at your ancestors and with betrayal because they decided to sign up to this?
Yeah, in a way, yes, because Newfoundland would have been better off on their own, so to speak. Because we have our own time zone. It's fucking phenomenal.
Look, we got a really good.
Trudeau is worse because Kim Campbell, even though she sucked, she had balls.
Slept around.
She had balls. Hey Noof, I've got an idea for you. I've got a trade solution for you, Noof. Okay, here in France, we've got a lot of nukes that we're just not using. Right? Can I sell you some of those nukes, right? And then what we'll do is we'll set them up. I'll come over and help, right? And what we'll do is we'll set them up on the border of Newfoundland, and we'll just we'll just detonate the nukes so that Newfoundland can drift off from the mainland.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we don't have a right to bear arms.
Oh, they're not arms; they're nuclear weapons. Come on.
Let's be real here. The Canadian government did kind of screw over Newfoundland whenever they canceled the fisheries.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, the hyper-regulation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's okay to let the fisheries tank, but no, the dairy industry. Oh no.
Yeah, I know, right?
And an entire swath, all of Eastern Canada, because of this hyper-regulation, are now teetering on being basically a third world country. If it wasn't for the reallocation payments from other provinces, we'd have famine and we'd have disease and we'd basically have our own little micro India on the eastern seaboard.
Snow Africa.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it's not funny. And it's you guys, the government, you guys created this fucking problem. And you're making it worse. Just stop. If you just stopped and tore up all these regulations, sure, you might have a little bit of overfishing, but you wouldn't have swaths of people in complete destitution. A little bit of regulation to protect the environment, to protect consumers, sure. But
encourage the fisheries. Encourage the fisheries to build renewable fishing solutions. It's not fucking difficult. Fish farms have existed for thousands of years.
That's what we did in Ontario. In Northern Ontario, I was one of them. We built fish farms and fish ponds so that we could breed and sell fish, because we saw what happened to Eastern Canada and said, well, now there's a huge hole and still massive demand for seafood, but there's a huge hole in the market. So we're going to capitalize on it. And eventually there was a little bit of overregulation. It's still flourishing in our province. It's not, the juggernaut that Eastern Canada was, because straight from the ocean,
I've got a
fuck,
dumb
don't get me
question for
started.
you, Functional. Correct me on this one. It's one of those facts that I remember about Ontario, but isn't there like a warship sunk in one of the Great Lakes?
Lake Michigan, I
Yep.
think.
Ah.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah, there's definitely I think it was a destroyer that was sunk.
Wow.
There's also 2 or 3 submarines the coast of Newfoundland, German submarines.
Oh,
Yep.
that's cool. That's
U-boats.
So they're used as training for Navy and stuff.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
For
SNR search and rescue.
rescues and stuff.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool. See, I know
Can I
that
just,
you guys have done a lot though. Like, I mean, you found oil off your coast too, haven't you?
Yeah, like this is what I was trying to say.
Mhm.
Hibernia was supposed to go to the province. All the contracts, everything. So they were supposed to go out to the Grand Banks, get the oil, get it shipped back to Island, build a refinery, gets refined there, and then spread out that way. But instead, like everybody did with Churchill in Labrador and with fucking Quebec, they all siphoned it off of the island and out of the province, but they made it sound like it was a better and cheaper deal.
Yeah, they did the same thing to us. Yeah, believe me, we know. We've been
Come with me, my
trying to.
friend. I have a better deal.
We've been sending up flags for years. Like we were like, don't trust those assholes.
Yay,
Yeah,
my baby's
so-
home.
So it's just like Churchill Falls. So
Yeah.
it's in Labrador, but the power is being siphoned down to, and Labrador can't touch it
That's so
because
Thank you,
bullshit.
my love.
yeah, because
That is so
Quebec has
bullshit.
Not
signed
you,
off
Noof.
since then.
Elwyn came home. I was saying thank you, my love, to her, not you. I do love you,
Oh,
but not in that way. No homo. Yet.
Aw.
All the homo, Newfie. It's okay. All the homo from me.
Okay. But see, another thing that got me pissed off about the whole like fisheries bullshit is about the seal hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let's
The
go
fucking-
clubbing means something completely different in Canada.
Yes, 100%. And the problem is like the reason why that they had to put such drastic regulations on like on all the fisheries and stuff like that was because of some fucking PETA cunt decided to come back and say, "Oh, don't hit the seals because they're cute and adorable." Fuck those seals. The population exploded,
Hi, James.
which took out most of the fishery.
Don't they grow up to be monsters too?
Oh, they're fucking
Seals.
insane.
They're voracious
Yeah.
predators, yeah.
Like-
And then they tried to
Literally-
take that away from who is it? The Inuit,
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
Live off of it.
that's their primary source of food and clothing and fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
backlash was almost immediate. So they put that on they put that on the kibosh. But the Eastern Canadians, no, they just said, "Fuck you. You're white. Who cares?"
Yeah, exactly. And then you have all these powerful celebrities coming in dropping like, "Oh, we'll give you $10 million to call out the sea hunt." Yeah, that's not exactly going to be the seal hunt, sorry. That's not exactly going to fix everything. That $10 million is going to be spent within a month.
Yeah. Now,
Just to keep the oil
in all fairness, there was a problem with some companies and some fishermen overfishing. And that was an issue we
Yes.
could have addressed, but instead the pendulum was like ripped out of the clock and thrown clear across the screen and said, "Well, no, we're just going to put so many regulations and make it completely unsustainable for everybody involved." And it killed the entire industry.
Let's batter the indigenous and the Newfies instead of the seals. Mm-hmm.
How about a palate cleanser, Jen?
Sure.
How about a little bit of
Sure.
cuteness from
Sorry. Yeah.
a little bit of cuteness from Alberta.
Ah.
So to set up the story, this Albertan, this responsible citizen, came across some kittens who were trapped in the snow and in the ice. There were as you can see in the video, they're like frozen. They can't escape.
There you go.
They had their tails, their paws stuck in it.
Okay, come on.
He's an oil worker,
Okay, hold on.
so you know
Hold on.
he goes back into his truck, grabs his coffee, which is warm, melts some of the surrounding ice around their tail and their paws and stuff, and gets them out of the ice. This guy's a fuck. Not all heroes wear capes, and of course, because he's got the cream, the cats are like,
Yummy. Oh,
and
my
so he eventually gets them. I felt so bad when I first saw this, but it's such a heartwarming story of, you know, us as humans, and this guy in particular.
You know what? I love these kind of videos because I always see it as like a backlash in the face of the feminists, because they like to think that like there's male toxic, you know, men are toxic, and then you see videos like this. Like majority of these are men.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Majority of these are men who just they stumble across animals and then they go out of their way to save them, and then they try to find them homes. If they don't end up keeping them themselves, which half the time they do, they try to find them homes, and they make sure they have homes, and they make sure they have help. Men are.
This guy Kendall is your run of the mill Albertan rig worker, just a hardworking, decent fellow who just wants to make his way in life, and it's not right to treat him the way we do. Well, I say those people treat just these hardworking guys, and I'm just leaving it sort of up there for a minute because
Barbie, that's what I call her.
this guy's kind of a hero. Like whether or not you're a cat person, you gotta respect the hustle. Save some cute lives. I like cats, but
well, I mean, the thing is like the reason why it's predominantly men, Jen. You know, it's because it's predominantly men going out into these, you know, really really unpleasant conditions and such. I'm convinced 99.9% of women that were they there at the time, they would have done the same thing. And I'm not coming across all feminist or what have you, but it is a very very human thing. You've just got this 1% of bastards.
Yeah, like the people who would torture the cats instead and put it on YouTube. Oh God, feminists?
And for the record, there are women who go out to these rigs. It's just they're few and far between, and I respect them a lot because they're the kind of women who, you know what, they honestly said fuck you to the feminists, and they just did what they wanted to do. Honestly, if they worked
hard and got paid.
They worked hard and they got paid. And you know what? They made a lot of sacrifices doing it. I respect them for their decision. I wouldn't do it myself because it's a long time spent away from your family. But I respect that that was their dream and that's what they went for. I begrudge people who tell me what my dream has to be.
Which is totally understandable. I mean, one of the things that sort of pisses me off about modern feminists, and indeed a lot of people sort of my age and younger, but you do also see it with people, you know, older than me as well. There's this notion that like when you go to work for a company or what have you, you have to like be appreciated. You get paid. That's your fucking appreciation. Everything else is icing on the cake. If your boss is an asshole to you, oh well, you get paid, right? Mm-hmm. So long as he or she isn't like actually abusing you, why complain? Get another fucking job. Yeah, it's sure, you know, employment's not always the easiest thing to find, don't I fucking know it? But you know, this notion like, oh, in the workplace, you know, we have to be represented and our voices have to be heard and we need this and, you know, we shouldn't have to go and cry in the stationery cupboard. There should be a cupboard for us to cry in specifically. We need a hug box and ball pits and Play-Doh. Fuck off! You go to work to do a job, you get paid, then you come home and cry to your significant other. That's that's what your appreciation is.
And yeah, the follow-up to that story, Jen, was that he did share the story in the video on Facebook, and they did find homes for all the kittens. So it was a happy ending to the story.
See, that's the thing. Like every time I've seen a video where there's a guy.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Ooh, that's a little early. We got at least half an hour. But
I
yeah,
just-
every video that I've
A little
seen
premature, you know.
where,
it
where, where
happens.
it's a
Getting older.
where it's a guy rescuing, an animal. Just
That one's
they're just
probably
doing it. Like they're
around.
just they just do it. There's no thought involved, and sometimes they get groups of guys to do it. But every single time I've seen them try to get help for those animals. And yes, there are women groups who do it too. But like, the thing is those channels are more, the ones that I've seen, it's more of, this is their job. This isn't just some random person stumbling across something and just being like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and try to do my best to rescue this person,
Well,
because-
that guy Kendall,
Mhm.
he gonna get
Oh,
laid.
probably.
Well, I'm actually going to
he's
have
got
to
all the
shoot
pussy
down his
now.
heroism now, because this gentleman, he's got a good heart. His heart's in the right place, but unfortunately, he has proved to feminists that there is actually a market out there for frigid pussy.
Well, yeah.
Shut up!
Have you ever been to Canada, sir? Or Russia? I hear the Russian ones are crazy, though. You might be a little bit more cautious. with them.
Yeah, but if you
Ooh, a Russian Canadian chick is insane.
Oh, yeah.
have you
Tell me
seen
about
some
it.
of
I
those
grew up-
Russian women though?
I grew up
might.
in, yeah. I grew up in Little
Yeah,
Moscow
Little
here
Moscow,
in
yeah.
Toronto. I'm part I'm part Russian as well. Bitches be crazy,
Ugh, but
but
those
in all
redheads,
the
though,
right ways.
I wouldn't
Nothing
mind me a
beats
little
my-
rose vodka. I'm just saying.
nothing beats my finely aged Scotch woman.
I think my favorite encounter with a Russian was this lady who was legit from Moscow. And she was gorgeous. Like, you could tell that she was a model, and she'd shaved her head, but she had one of those faces where you could get away with doing that.
Yes.
Just absolutely beautiful. And you could tell that she was a redhead because she still had her eyebrows, and
As a straight woman, you'd have smashed that, right?
not necessarily, but I would have gotten really close to thinking about it. But she was dating this guy that I was playing games with at the time, and it was just funny. I loved her. Like, she could tell that I had this appreciation for her, and she loved the attention because Russian women like attention. They do like to be appreciated, and they do love compliments. And she knew that I am me. I just love people. But
Okay.
she told this guy to his face in front of me, like, she holds up this really crazy looking butcher knife, and she's just like, so just so you know, Mycroft, if you ever cheat on me, this is the knife that I'm going to use on you.
Hello there.
And I was like, I love you. You are amazing.
At that point, I want to just put on my fucking cowboy hat, take a drag from a cigarette, and be like, "Howdy."
She was just fantastic, but like, yeah, she was a little bit kooky, but like, I still respected that.
Like the old adage says, hard times breed hardy people. And God, the people in Russia and the former Soviet,
She make me hardy.
they've gone.
But she was very
heads up before
realistic, and she absolutely loved to get into debates with communists and super socialists.
Listen
Because,
to me. I come from a communist country.
Yeah,
I tell you one time what is like.
she would rip into the about their theories and the shit that she would talk about. That she has the history to back it up. And just she just found it so amusing how deaf they were to it. Like, it's just. But she's living in the U.S. now, as far as I'm aware. She's just super smart lawyer, beautiful lady, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, because after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Canada took in a lot of people.
Yes, we did.
We had the resources to do it at that time. It's not because they were white and looked like us. In fact, socially and spiritual, well, not spiritually, but like the essence of you as a people, they were very culturally, thank you, were very, very different.
They were
from the white people who were already here. But they came, they amalgamated, they had children, and their children were all far too happy to be Canadian at that point.
And
it
they're
was,
really
it was no longer Mother Russia, but the snow is nice.
and like I said, like I'm even going to bring up China. Like, here's the thing: I actually really enjoy our Chinese community just as much as I love our Ukrainian and our Russian community and our Soviet Union community, because they became good neighbors. Like, yes, there are jackasses in every community. Yes, I've met the odd Chinese person who really shouldn't drive. That's not the stereotype. There just are.
Look,
you're
you're driving
talking
in
the
snow.
individual.
They have a hard enough time when it's
There are
not
some
snowing.
white people
But-
I know that can't drive.
Well, you know who the worst drivers are, right?
The Italians.
Jewish Chinese women.
Jewish Chinese women. Oh,
my
no.
goodness. It's stacked against you, ladies.
I am not going out on the roads in Canada if there are Jewish Chinese women. It's
There
not
are.
happening.
They're not very prevalent, but there are.
But they've always been good neighbors. Like, they've been respectable neighbors. They're good. They're good members of our community, and I respect them a lot. Like,
Chinese people in general are pretty good. I mean, they still call themselves Chinese.
Yes.
They still identify as Chinese and all, but they don't do it in a.
It's easier
don't do
than
it in a
saying
way.
Mongoloid.
They're not particularly supremacist about it, and that's great.
yeah,
No, they're matter of fact. It's like, yeah, I'm Chinese. I descended from, or my parents descended from, that region, but it's more a descriptor. It's a matter of fact. It's not, I'm Chinese Canadian. No, I'm Canadian, but I happen to be Chinese as well.
Yeah.
They're not talking national. They're just talking.
and it's never a second thought for me to think of them as Canadian either. Like, it never has been a second thought. Like, you either are Canadian or you're not, and I can tell when you're not. Like,
Oh God, Noof, that would be a hell of an impression to do.
Yeah, a Chinese guy reading Hebrew, especially with all that phlegmy.
And then Moses, he come out of Egypt called the Pharaoh. What an asshole!
Let my people go. Let my people go.
Let my people go. I turn stick into snake for you. Don't eat it. It's not good. It has the coronavirus.
No, we're just having some fun.
We're all going to hell.
We're all going to hell. Bro. Don't worry.
We're all going to hell.
The chosen people. They look around in the desert for 40 years. The people.
You can't pronounce the L. You have to go people.
The people.
There you go.
They look around for Israel.
Anyway, we were talking about Russia. So
Oh yes, Mother Russia.
well, we'd like to go back to Mother Russia. I've got another video.
you're probably not wrong, Big Dro. I'm just laughing because of the impressions that they're doing, because they're amazing. But
Yeah, we're just having a bit of fun.
yeah, like
Hell, I'm a Jew.
I've
I'm the first one to make fun of the Holocaust,
I've rented,
I'm
like,
Newfoundland. We have an
I would
encyclopedia.
say the majority of my better friends were actually people of color, and most of them were Chinese, because most of my friends were Chinese. In my school, there was maybe two girls that I knew who were black, and the one girl hated my guts, and I still to this day have no idea why. And the other girl was just super smart. Like, I was nice to her anyway because I liked her, but she was in the category of, like, I'm really serious in my studies, so I just was trying to be supportive to her all the time. Like, she ran for I think for high school she ran for, like, president or something, and I voted for her because I knew she was really smart, and I knew she was a really smart, like, sweet girl, like, sweet personality, and very helpful with everybody around her. So I've never had a problem with people of color. I have a problem with SJWs.
Functional, your wife is telling us about a Russian man that sent her porn.
Klingon porn, yeah. I can imagine. I remember like the one chick. I wasn't really, I wasn't really into her myself, but I can understand why people thought she was pretty. And there are some ladies of color that I'm just like, wow, you're really beautiful. Like, everybody has people who are beautiful. It's just everyone judges each other from their own lenses, and
Sure.
I can't tell you what you see from your lens, but I can appreciate everybody has some people that are very beautiful. I don't really like the idea of just judging people all the time. Like, yes, there are people who are ugly, and I try not to think of it that way.
I just don't care about people enough to judge them.
Yeah.
It's at that point, it's at that
Unless
point.
they give you that certain little tingle in the panties.
Yeah.
Well, I don't wear panties all the time, functional, but yes.
No.
Well, you
I'm
sent
a
me that
boxer
one
dude.
photo, so I just assumed.
Look,
like,
that was a special occasion.
it didn't take me long after moving out of home, and this is just mostly because as a supreme introvert, I just hadn't met a lot of people. But after the initial meeting, it really doesn't matter. I might stare at you for a few seconds and be like, "Wow, that's unfortunate," and then after that, I don't really give a shit. Because I've had moments where I deliberately dressed myself up to be ugly. There were points in my life where I just didn't really care because I didn't want to really associate with people at all. And being unattractive is just not that hard to do, honestly. There are ways to get away with things, but I got to this point where it's like, Jen, being so antisocial is not really healthy for you. You really should start socializing because you're going to be that old lady with a million cats. So I just, I lost a bunch of weight. I was like, oh, look, my face is actually not bad. And then all of a sudden dudes were hitting on me, and I don't do online dating because it's really scary. And it made me feel really bad because all these guys.
You're swimming in a sea of dick.
Swimming in a sea of dick, and I don't feel like I deserve it.
Reminds me of that film, Big Stan. I can just picture you out there on the wharf, drowning in a sea of Negro cock. In fact, I am part black myself, and the only thing that stops me handing you over this desk right now is the fact I have a beautiful wife.
But no, the truth of the matter is I just didn't feel like I deserved it. It was just like, I don't know any of you guys. None of you know me. I've been as honest as I was as honest as I could be on there without doxing myself. I wasn't about to do that. But I was honest about my weight. I was honest about my height. I was honest about, my looks, the things that bothered me about myself, my personality. I tried to be as honest as possible because that's what the advice I'd been given. And
Genty Maxi, chub magnet.
I wasn't that chubby, but I
chub
was
magnet as in a boner.
Yeah, but all of this attention, I'm just like, none of you actually know me, and that's why I don't really like the online thing. I actually do kind of, like I said, I appreciate the way the Japanese kind of do it in the manga. I don't know if they still actually do that because that's sometimes it comes up and sometimes it doesn't. But
all the men just stay home and masturbate.
Weeb alert.
But the old speed dating thing, it was just I kind of get that because you go out and maybe you have a few drinks and you're mellow, maybe not necessarily alcohol. It could be coffee or whatever, tea or whatever. But it's just the way to introduce yourself and be like, okay, I've met this person. Let's see if if this person gets stuck in my mind, then maybe I can meet them again in another one.
Honestly, I think one of the weirdest sort of opinions I hold when it comes to dating and relationships is I'm actually somewhat in favor of it'd have to obviously be consensual, but arranged marriages. Who really provided obviously you've got good parents, right? Everybody has to have good parents. It's a prerequisite of it. Mm-hmm. But your parents have known you all your life, assuming that you're in obviously a good situation familiarly. So. Yeah, they might not pick you out a supermodel. They might not pick you out the most intelligent person in the world. They might not pick you out the richest person in the world. But chances are they're probably going to pick you out somebody relatively decent, relatively stable, has all the things that they think you need. It might not be a bad start.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, the sentiment is there, but I wouldn't go so far as to say arranged marriage.
Oh no,
but
sorry,
a
marriage
dating
is the wrong
hookup,
word, but
dating hookup or introductions. Yeah, for sure, you were totally right on that because, who knows you better than yourself? But secondly, your parents. If you again have decent enough parents, they're going to have
and they don't
an interest in your life. They know what you like. They will generally have an idea of who would be a good match for you, regardless of whether you are male or female, gay or straight. They'll know your personality. They'll know that they have that world wisdom, that lived experience to know what will go well with your personality.
Yeah. Hashtag not all parents, obviously. There are exceptions, but I mean, don't get me wrong. As little as I get along with my parents, they don't have the same sort of look, there are definitely certain delusions I hold about myself. That goes without saying. Everybody has a certain degree of egotism. My parents look right through the bullshit when it comes to me. And yeah, no, I wish honestly that I'd listened more to my dad when it came to dating. He never said much about it. He was very kind of hands off in that regard. But yeah, the few things that he did say were very, very valid points, very valuable points, valuable bits of information that I should have taken to heart much, much earlier. I'd have probably made a few less mistakes if I had.
That's part of growing up, though.
It is, yeah.
Defying your parents a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elwin, yeah, even on the male side of things, I did a couple speed dating events, and yeah, there were some stage 5 clingers. And I kind of got scared because they just wouldn't leave me alone. Like, I was fully upfront and like, I think you're a nice person and all, but I just don't think we're compatible. But oh my God, they wouldn't take no for an answer. And they just, would DM me and message me and like stalk me, like find me on Facebook and social media and stuff. And then like, whoa, this has gone from a little weird to full on inappropriate.
Well, come on, Functional. You are a rather beautiful man.
I think the first and the last conversation I've ever had with my mom about sex was when I was 30, and I told her that I dated a guy for like I lied about how long I dated him. I told her that I dated him for 3 weeks, even though it was just basically a one-night stand where I deliberately went out to lose my virginity. And I was upfront about it too. I was like, met the dude. I'm like, just so you know, I've never done it before. I'm just doing this because I don't want to be a 30-year-old virgin because I don't own a car.
Wait, how? That is just so fucking typical of a woman, isn't it? I don't want to be a virgin because I don't have a car.
I was trying to meme the joke was like at that time the movie was out,
Okay,
and
I'll blow you, but you're my new taxi driver.
Well, the guy laughed at least. He was just like, at least you're being honest. It was like, and just so you know, I have no experience whatsoever. Like, I mostly read manga, and
that's not helpful. That's not helpful.
Excellent.
I had sex before I encountered manga, and trust me, it's not helpful.
No, it was really funny. I mean, I just lost a bunch of weight too. So like I told him like, I am confident right now because I've lost a bunch of weight, but at the same time though, like this is the tiniest I've been since I was 16. So a lot of my confidence is probably like fake. But I was okay with everything.
Fake it till you make it.
Like I was okay with everything. It was one of those things where, I had to reassure him. I had to baby him through the whole thing because he was scared that he was going to hurt me. And I was just like, don't worry, I've prepared for this. And my brother's in the room, so I'm going to stop talking.
Where did you find this guy, Jeff?
What? You should be. That's why I stopped talking.
Look, I never thought that this would be an issue for me, but now my sister's growing up to the point where she's taking an interest in boys and boys are taking an interest in her. I'm stuck between I don't want to know a goddamn single thing about it to I want to know who they are and where they are so I can kill them if they hurt her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got nieces who are in that age range, and yeah.
Where does this patriarchal sentiment come from, Functional?
Well, it's our lizard brain. It's our primordial brain to be the protectors of the tribe, right?
I guess so.
I mean, we've kind of lost the need for that living in, modern Western societies that are mostly safe.
Not if we keep fucking... I'm just going to leave that thought there.
But I mean, we're going back to our primordial thoughts of... we still have to protect the vulnerable in our tribe, and who are the most vulnerable but young women. We don't want them to make stupid decisions because as young men, we've sometimes preyed on young women who made those stupid decisions because we were thinking with our cocks and not our brains.
Exactly. This is it. I mean, my
all comes from love.
It does. It does. And not only that, but ultimately, I don't want This is going to sound perhaps weird, but I'm going to say it how I think it. I don't want my sister ending up with a loser like me. You know?
Yeah, I understand the sentiment. Yeah,
In
less
as
harsh
much
than
as-
the way you put it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in much the same way that you know, my mom wants me to do well when it comes to relationships and all that kind of thing. She doesn't want me to end up being in like a fucking dead end
Some
relationship.
flag. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel very much the same way. I want my sister to do well. I want her to have the choice of whether she goes to work, or can, you know, stay at home and be a housewife. I want her to have that option. How very feminist of me. But no, it's, you know, I want her to have as many options, you know, as many doors in life to open as possible. And so some fucking teenage piece of shit with his brain disabled and his penis active, yeah, I don't want that for her. I really don't, because I know how that turns out.
So I just wanted to clarify something to Doug. To be fair to the guy that I'm talking about, since my brother has now left the room, like he had just broken up with an ex who, like he like I think he was on his like month and a half breakup with this girl who sounded like she was pretty crazy, and he was in a trap because of this one, because she used his credit card to pay their bills, and the thing is she didn't pay any of the bills, so she hadn't paid the bills in like a year, and he was forced to pay it all, and he'd met me, and I just like told him this stuff, and I was just like, I can understand why you'd be nervous. I can understand why he was nervous through the whole thing, like, you know.
And then Jen was just like,
Finish him!
Well, I mean, it's better than what I did. It's better than what I did to the second guy, who I was just like, so just so you know, like, and this was like 3 years after the first guy, because I was just like, well, I've done it, so I'm good for right now. And then I was like, well, maybe somewhere down the line I'll meet somebody and actually have a proper conversation and then do all that stuff. But that never happened. This is how you know you're dealing with a true introvert. This is the thing. This is how you know you're dealing with one, because like it's not that I don't want a relationship. It's just I don't even think about it half the time. But now I'm at the age where it's just like, oh, I better start thinking about it because I'm really old now. but at the same time, you know, that second guy, I just felt so bad, because I was like, so just so you know, you're the second dude I've had, and the first guy was like 3 years ago, and he was my first, and I've had no experience since. It's not like I don't do anything, you know, like I'm not asexual, but I just
I've read the handbook,
you know, but he was like, okay, well, let's go to the back end, and I was just like, oh gosh, well, I've never done that before, so at least I'm experiencing something new. And I was like, okay, and I told him that.
hello,
and I told him like the only knowledge that I'd really taken into that was stories that I'd read off of fanfiction.net and manga.
Oh, good God, you poor sweet summer child.
So it's not like I have actually had conversations with real gay men, right? So I didn't tell him that part. I just played the first two as a joke. So halfway through, I was just like, so after it was done, I told him that. But I was like, so I just started describing this manga when he was like halfway through it, you know, like the expression on the poor like bottom kid's face and how he was crying. I felt so bad afterwards, and I told him what I'd done, and like he didn't call me afterwards. I was like, I don't feel bad, but at the same time, I do.
Fucking Functional's got a new toy, I see.
I've had it for a while.
But you know what? If
She's just making it so easy for me.
But you know what? If he'd kept at it, I probably would have kept it, because you know, a guy who could survive that kind of joke would have been a keeper, right?
Oh God.
I mean, generally, yeah. Oh God, no. I remember the first girl who asked if I wanted to try anal. I couldn't walk straight for a fucking week.
Oh goodness. Sorry, I told that story to a MGTOW, and man, did he lose his nut laughing. It's the truth. Like, it's a true story, but like, It's just I can't help that this is who I am. I have a sense of humor, and it's kind of a little bit mean, but I don't rate it at all. And this is probably why I'm an introvert, because
It's one of those though. It's like the way I try and sort of frame it for people is like, I'm not necessarily an introvert or an extrovert, but there are walls. When you get past those walls, that's on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll leave the door open
100%.
so you can run out screaming if you have to, but yeah.
If I let you in the door, just be prepared.
sorry to tell inappropriate stories, but like honestly, that one's one of my favorite ones, because like honestly,
That's
every
the
time I
internet.
think about it, I just like, man, Jen is like sadistic as fuck.
Just to do that to a guy midway through, for fuck's sakes.
Well, he started laughing, like there were little parts where he was just like, it's not that bad, and then he'd start laughing, it's just
At least-
Jesus.
That's what you want to hear. It's not that bad.
At least it wasn't like halfway through it, she looks back and he just waves at her,
Oh no, I have to have some sort of like clever quip for when they look back. It's just something. What's the weather doing down there? Shit like that.
Oh, you know what? There's actually more to this story too, because the worst part is I was supposed to keep it quiet.
Just real quick, Jen. Just real quick. How much? Think about how deep the hole is right now. Would you like a shovel? Yes or no? You could walk away
phrasing.
Honestly, there's no shovel. Honestly, this is just me being more mean to this poor dude and just confessing more to this poor dude's experience. But the entire time we were supposed to keep it down because the guy was technically living in the basement of a friend, and this house was like really thin walls, and he's just like,
I'm growing more concerned by the minute.
you gotta keep it down, Jen. So the entire time I'm telling him this manga story, and he's trying not to laugh. I'm just sitting there telling the story, and I'm trying not to laugh because I'm finding the whole thing hilarious.
Jesus.
Oh, that.
A shag and a show.
I have no idea if his roommate ever said anything to him or not, because like I said, he never called me back. I think he might have tried to text me, but the thing is I deleted numbers, like I was like, oh, you kind of sound like that dude, but like, I don't know who you are, so I'm not gonna respond to this.
You sound familiar, and then suddenly you get a phone call. I'll be like, hey, why didn't you answer my text message? Oh, that was you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm with Mr. Wednesday right now.
Oh no, that's the thing. Like the thing is even between then, like it was like 4 years afterwards before I met another dude, and even then, like that one was just he didn't like the fact that I didn't like texting him. I'm not a phone girl. I've never been a cell phone girl or a phone girl. But I'm a Discord person. I'm always on Discord. He had Discord. And I was like, well, you could get me at any time on Discord. I realize if you're at work, you can't do that. So I tried to compromise by at least checking my phone at least once a day to at least text him something, But he wanted me to text him all day. And I was just like, oh, no, that's not going to happen.
I got shit to do, dude. Yeah, that's like a stage 2/stage 3 clinger right there. You dodged a bullet.
Yeah, so that was just kind of my thing. I'm like, yeah, that's just not going to happen. My mom has struggles getting me to phone her, and she nags. I'm like, dude, you're not going to win past my mom. She's had at least 12 years on you with texts and cell phones, and she can tell you from experience. And email and answering machines and just regular phones, and when I lived at home. And
like I have a personal email, but I'm almost never on there. Business email I'm okay with because people pay me money, but
yeah.
Personal email, call me.
Yeah, pretty much. And the thing is, it's not like I won't help her out with stuff. Like I just I like her to get me in advance. I do check my phone because they're old now. It's one of those things where, just out of general concern, I do want to make sure. Ooh, my brother's talking to me. What? What? Oh, you're the best. I love you, Chris. Oh, okay, I'll keep it down.
Chris is basically just like,
No, God!
Yeah.
No, God, please, no!
Oh God, no! Oh God, no! Yep, yeah, he's doing that right now.
One of those things you don't exactly do with adult siblings is talk about your sexual experiences.
I know.
Oh,
Not
me and my
even
brothers
your
compare fucking notes, dude.
People are not. Yeah, I do appreciate that. That's not fair. I do try to keep my voice down. It's just I project, especially when I'm excited about something that I shouldn't be proud of that. I really shouldn't. It's not something to be proud of, but I was.
Let's just say.
Okay, so gets loud when excited, and yeah, tells
Like
jokes
so.
midway through. You're ticking a few boxes here, Jen. I just can't.
Exactly. So gentlemen, she's single, and she has a Discord.
Oh Jesus! No, but no, seriously. Yeah,
So,
I live with a
cake or
sibling.
pie?
Cake or pie?
Pie.
Yeah, I'd probably lean more towards pie. It's not that I hate cake. It's just I find cake is too sweet. I want to reinvent a cake that's more like fruit sugar than
fruitcake.
Yes. I mean, there's fruit cake.
Wedding cake? Wedding cake's Oh, Jesus. Clam pie. Dog, go sit in the fucking corner.
I don't know what it is about. You know what? I do know what it is about cake, and I'm gonna blame daycares for life because they always use this really cringy buttercream icing.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you know, in my like mid-20s, the cupcake reigned kind of supreme for a long time, and that reigned on into like 30s. But like I'm sure you guys remember the Mile High ice cream, or like icing cupcakes that all the girls would like get 2 of, and they were like stupidly expensive.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those were gross. Oh, those were so nasty. And they would always be like, "Jen, you like this? It's got a lot of icing." And I'm like, "Oh, icing is so gross."
A fucking cake is supposed to be cake, not icing. Fuck all this. I watched one of those cooking channels, or what? Really, it's a cake decorating channel. And don't get me wrong, the woman that's on there, she's lovely, and the, like the base cake stuff is really, really nice, and she's very, very informative. I could listen to her for hours. She's got one of those voices.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at the cake and I'm thinking, like, God damn, there's like a kilo of icing sugar there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not much different for the fondant ones either. Like, don't get me wrong, I can appreciate fondant if it's like a thin layer. Because it's an almond paste basically.
I can't marzipan. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. I like almonds like roasted by themselves sparingly. Yeah. I cannot stand marzipan.
Like that was the thing with me, because like every time I've had it on a cake, it's so thick. I'm like, you know what, marzipan is so strong of a flavor that like if it's just like it's kind of like prosciutto. If you use it like prosciutto on a cake, it's actually not bad because then it's like a light layer. But like usually it's never like that. It's always like at least half an inch thick, and that's all it takes for it to be too much because marzipan is strong. But they can't do that with those because they're making stupid looking shit. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You know what's really, you know what's really impressive is if you can do that with ingredients that taste good. That would blow my mind. Actually, it's one of those things where, like, if I was better at baking, I would actually invest in that, and then like make sure my apartment was. Well, I'm not set up for baking. That's the problem. If I had counter space, I would do it. I would totally set up something where I try to construct cakes that look really cool with ingredients that everyone can pronounce.
Real quick in chat, Doug says, clam is slang for vagina. So yeah, I know that. I'm just not cutting them off and putting them in pies. Thank you very much. And secondly, marzipan paste is good to mix into regular icing. Yeah, that's the best way to. That's the best use for it, really.
Because it like I said, it's a strong flavor. You don't need a lot of it, so it spreads it out.
Yeah, don't lay that shit down.
But I agree with Elwin. Like a nice moist carrot cake with just a nice amount of icing. But the thing with carrot cake, it's I like the cream cheese icing on that one. And cream cheese icing is really bad for you.
Carrot cake.
Carrot cake. But carrot cake, you know what? Carrots are very sweet. I mean, at least it's a vegetable, but it's not exactly healthy for you either. But I admit that one's not bad. One of my favorites was this banana bread that I used to get at Sobeys, and it was just they added just the right amount of bananas to it and the right amount of butter to it to make it really moist. And then they had like this semi dark chocolate chip in it. Oh boy, was it melt in your mouth good. And you just like you could eat it as it is, or I had a little toaster oven, so I like to heat it up for like a few seconds and then just eat it. And
I combined the brioche recipe with a banana bread recipe, sort of banana brioche. That was really quite nice. Glazed the top of it with a little bit of honey. Yeah, that was real good. That was taste bud sex. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing with me right now in my diet. It's just I stay away from baking.
This is the thing, because I was looking for a way to, because banana bread tends to be quite heavy, because the cake usually has to be quite dense, because banana itself is quite heavy, right? I was looking for like a way that I could put something together that would be stiff enough to suspend the banana without it all just settling at the bottom, but light enough to be not sitting in my stomach like pound cake.
Yeah.
and that turned out quite well. I had to make quite a stiff brioche in order to make it work, but no, it worked quite well, and it was like half the calories of regular banana bread. So that turned out.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's the other milestone I have to make this year is I need to get some new cooking bowls, because I haven't had any in a while. Like we used to have plastic ones, but somewhere during the move they got lost, and I know one of them got tossed because it was super old, and I didn't trust it anymore, to be honest, because it was that old plastic.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't trust the old plastic anymore, because like some of them like they hold on to germs, like they get scratched up.
Yeah, you want to get yourself a good Pyrex mixing bowl. Yeah. They really just don't scratch.
Yeah.
And they're microwavable.
You know, I mean, I got away with it with some of my other bowls, but like honestly, you can't cheat with ceramic bowls more than like a couple times.
It's true. Oh yeah, zucchini bread is better than banana bread. Dog.
Go sit in the corner. Go. Fuck zucchini. It sucks.
I can't do zucchini. I can't do it.
Neither can I. It just.
I don't
so
mind zucchini.
Sliced and fried, I can do, but otherwise.
It depends on the zucchini. Like I used to get ours from BC, from our neighbor's garden, so super fresh, and they grew yellow ones, and I found the yellow ones were a little bit milder, but obviously you don't use the skin. Like the skin wasn't as tough to begin with, so like it was a little bit more tender. So I didn't mind that one, but the thing is sometimes when I make a zucchini bread, I will add a little bit of banana to it because I like a little bit extra fruit to it. But like that's a heavy loaf. It's a heavy loaf.
I had one of those ones.
Yeah, those
after
are heavy.
A large dinner.
So like you eat little slices of that. Like you're not eating big pieces of it. So like my mom would freeze it because that's the only way to keep it moist. It doesn't last. It dries out so quickly because of that. Yeah. So yeah. You have to eat it within the day.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of zucchini, so like you're gonna poop a lot because zucchini is like, whew, it's good for you, but it
heavy loaf in, heavy loaf out.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like you eat it, you're 10 pounds heavier, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I lost 20 pounds. What the hell?
Believe me, I've been using a lot of it in my salads because it's a nice hefty vegetable. Like don't get me wrong, I don't I don't miss out on everything else. It's just there are some days where I might not eat bread, or there's some days where I might not eat meat this day. But like I always have that stuff in my diet during the week. Like yesterday, I had a big meal. I actually had a treat because my mom got us some soft tacos. So it had chicken in it, had cheese in it, and it had like a coleslaw mix, which I added more coleslaw to it, to be honest. But it had a salsa, and it had a ranch, and then it had this pre-cooked seasoned chicken. And I reheated the chicken with the cheese on top of it, and I made my little soft tacos. But like there was a lot of tacos there. Like I probably, if the thing is living with my brother, and I'm not being mean to him. It's just he is a fat man. If he sees food left over, he sometimes just automatically thinks, well, that's just free game. So sometimes I will eat the rest of it just so that I eat it. And I don't like doing that because I could have just eaten the 3 and then eaten the other 3 later. And I would have been happier with that, or even just saving the other 3 for today. But I ate the whole of them, and they weren't big. Like that was the equivalent of like maybe 3 sandwiches, but like nice sandwiches.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay away from eating a lot of bread because
it's pure carbs. Yeah,
it's pure carbs, and it's the same with rice and noodles. It's not to say that I don't eat them. It's just if I do, I have a smaller portion and I just don't eat them as often.
Try and get a hold of brown rice if you can. It does have a bit of a different flavor, but you don't need so much of it, and the fiber helps you, let's say, pass it quicker.
Yeah, I've been doing that, and like it's the same with like regular oatmeal, like just plain oatmeal. I'll add my own stuff to it, and
oatmeal
I don't.
Is great.
And I like I said, I don't do it all the time because like I like to let my body tell me what it wants right now. Right now I'm kind of in a vegetable mode, so I will eat a little bit of meat just to make sure I'm getting that proper protein, or I'll have eggs, or I'll have some cheese with it, but I'll just like stack up on vegetables, and it's just like, okay, well right now my body is kind of wanting the nutrients in these vegetables, and then maybe next week I'll have another day where I'll have some carbs, or I'll have I'll have a day where I have more yogurt, maybe, just to make sure I'm keeping proper bacteria in my stomach. But it's like I talked to my dad. He's like, oh, you're just starving yourself. I'm like, you're on a paleo diet when you're 75, Dad.
One quick note on cheese, actually. Just in sort of general, not necessarily to you, Jen, but to anybody else who's thinking of losing weight. It's cheese itself. You have to be very, very careful around. It's very, very tasty and all that kind of thing. But casein, as it breaks down into in your digestive tract, it produces it breaks down some chemicals that are they're analogous to certain opioids.
Yeah.
It produces a very similar addictive response in the brain. So if you're a weak-willed dieter like I am, just cut it out completely. It's easier.
I treat it as a treat protein. I treat it because when I've had to go to these nutritionists with my brother because I'm supposed to help him with this diet, and I am trying. Like, this week he ate. Oh my God, I'm a little bit mad at him for it, but he ate a whole vegetable tray, and I was like, you know what? At least it's vegetables.
Anything in excess, though. Anything in excess.
But at least it was vegetables. It was just at least because he hasn't had that many vegetables in a long time. I think he suffered for it, though. I'm just like, you should have maybe ate that over a course of 3 days instead of like 1. And the thing is right afterwards, he ate chicken nuggets right afterwards too. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna be so stuffed up. He's. Oh, we still had chicken nuggets. I still had mine, but. Like he does that, and like I said, his stomach is stretched. Like his mind doesn't understand that he doesn't need to eat as much, but at the same time he's going, well, this is a bunch of vegetables, and I was like, well, at least it's vegetables, but honestly, you should have split that over 3 days.
Yeah.
And your stomach is going to regret that for a while, because you're now processing something that honestly he doesn't eat that many vegetables. Like I do bring
He's
them
gonna
in
end up with acid reflux, something cruel, yeah.
And I'm like, most of your problems are in his back. Like his weight has affected his back. Yeah. Sometimes it affects his knees, but not as frequently. Like it's mostly his back. And I'm like, that's where it's going to go.
exactly.
Um,
Real quick though, on a happier note, Elowen mentioned earlier, tea and cake is a good snack. You know what? That is very true, but also tea cakes are an excellent snack.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Jen, you were
Yeah,
saying.
pretty good.
Yeah, no. It's like don't get me wrong. I worked in a deli and God, it was so hard to stay away from samples because they would have like and
Yeah.
nice cheese samples, not just cheap like over the counter crap cheese, but like we'd get this nice stuff from Quebec, which would usually come from like nunneries or the monks. So like you'd have these really nice aged cheeses and you never eat lots of that. Like you never do. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to have like maybe a piece the size of your finger cut up into little squares. And we would have that with, maybe a little bit of fruit we'd cut up. And oh my God, it was
Pineapple or something,
fantastic.
yeah.
But, I had to stay away from that, so it was like maybe 2 times to 3 times a week. If it was a favorite cheese, I might cheat a little. But if I had that much cheese, I wouldn't eat any more that day because I'm well aware of the fact that, cheese can bunk you up. Like that much isn't enough to do much other than put a little bit of dairy into my stomach. And I have a problem with yogurt. Like I don't hate yogurt. It's just yogurt either has too much sugar or they put shit in it and I can tell. And it's not the probiotic stuff. It's just there's something that they're putting in it. And I don't know if it's a fake sweetener. I don't know if it's like a colored dye because some of them do use colored dyes to make them more red and shit. But I can taste it. And it's not...
They usually use cochineal to make them more red just because it's so readily available. They do also use synthesized stuff. Now, as regards to yogurt, however, I doubt you'll actually be able to get it in Canada. And if you can, it's probably expensive. But some of the best natural yogurt I've ever had was Irish. This stuff was like a faint sort of off yellow kind of color, and it's not like Greek style where it's like really really sour either. It was just rich and like borderline buttery. It was really really good.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things. It was so nice. You didn't want to eat it quickly, and you didn't want to eat loads of it. Really, really good for that. Helped me lose a bit of weight and keep my gut bacteria up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's everything that's going on in my head right now in terms of what I'm doing. Like between looking for work, keeping myself busy online so that I'm not going crazy and I have at least some kind of purpose in my life. and actually looking into my own general health because I'm 38 years old and my dad is 75 and my mom is not in good shape, but she's turning 66 this year. He got a young fox. I don't know how he managed it.
My dad's the same. 71 and my mom's 54.
But my mom's trying to do better too, but like she fails a little bit. But like I told her, like, for you at your age, going down gradually is not a bad thing. Take your time, enjoy your life, because you're retired, age gracefully. My dad's on this mode of like, he's obsessed with this paleo diet and he thinks like, I read this book and it's the Holy Grail. And I'm like, is it like the other like 10 books that you've read that were also the Holy Grail? Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to try different things, Dad, but like limiting yourself all the time is going to drive you insane. And then you're going to fail your diet.
What paleo diet is he on?
He's primarily eating meat and vegetables that he can eat. Like he's not allowed to eat anything like peppers or tomatoes or potatoes. That kind of group he's not allowed to eat.
So he's on the sort of the Central European paleo diet.
Yes. He's trying to stay away from most carbs. Like, I mean, every once in a while he fails because like your body is going to crave what it needs. And he'll eat fish, he'll eat eggs. He's decided to advocate away from all kinds of cheese because he thinks that cheese is like, that's a new thing. Like
he's white.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So no, dairy has been part of white people's diets for 5, 6, 7,000 years at least, including cheese.
Yeah. I just he's taken it so far, and it's just like, Dad, you really got to understand that like our diet has been diverse for quite a long time because we're innovative people. People have been struggling to preserve food for ages because you have so many elements to defeat. The last thing you need to be worried about is food.
Well, this is why veganism doesn't work, because they're obsessed with like fruits and vegetables and tubers and all that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's sure if you're sort of like Southern African or Far Eastern, sort of, Oriental, Chinese, Vietnamese, whatever. Yeah, maybe you can get away with it there. Maybe.
Yeah.
But no. If you're white, you do need a good amount of protein from meats and fish and to a certain extent dairy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're sort of like the Inuit folk, the indigenous Canadians and that kind of thing, their diet was almost always fish, fish and seal meat.
Yeah.
You put those people on a course of vegetables, it's going to kill them.
Oh yeah, it would. It's one of those things where I get the idea of slowing down on eating so many imported items. Like I actually do agree with that one, because yes, there are a lot of imported items that people I think are doing a little bit too much of. Like the coconut oil, I think I like coconut oil. It tastes nice. I like it in cooking, but I don't think you should be hammering into it all the time. Because
be careful how much you cook it as well, because it changes properties drastically.
Yes, and it's also high in fat. Like people seem to think that like it's a more processable fat, and it's like not really. No, it's just
particularly when cooked, it becomes a trans fat.
Yes, and it's another time where they've brought this in like that, and I don't agree with that. Like I said, I don't mind cooking with it every once in a while because I do like the taste of it, but I also like peanut oil, and the same reason I like it actually raw more often than not. But like I like to add it on to noodles or the odd salad, do a toss up with it. It's great. I like that stuff, but I wouldn't eat tons of that either, because I mean, at least peanut butter is a little bit.
Like a good watercress salad with like sliced cashews with a little peanut oil sort of dressing.
It's
that's
great.
Good shit right there.
Right? Like I have no problems with that. But yeah, it's just I know I look at my ancestry and I'm like, we were probably using more animal fat to cook with than any other oil. Honestly, like my mom's side of the family used Germanic, and my dad's side is from Scotland. Like they were probably using animal fat. I'm sorry.
You didn't have olive oil just kicking about,
They didn't even have canola oil. Like,
exactly.
Like, so, I'm not saying I would go back to that necessarily, but like cooking with a little bit on your steak is not going to kill you. If it's loaded with it, yes, but
it's like potatoes. If you're going to have carbs, potatoes are probably one of the best forms of carbs for, I would say, most Europeans, most Americans, right down to the med. You can get pretty much all you need nutritionally from baked potatoes with a bit of butter, not margarine, but butter.
Yeah.
You can get pretty much everything that you need. You can live on that pretty much. So yeah, do that. But if you're more Germanic blooded, then bit of duck fat. That's the shit right there.
My mom actually said that. Like she this year between well, actually I say this year, but it kind of started in September for my mom. But this year's kind of been like a travel year for her, which I fully support, because she's been retired for like 9 years and she hasn't really gotten out of the country. And I'm like, Mom, like enjoy your retirement, Like your kids are fine. Like you've helped us out, we'll be okay while you're gone. So she went to go visit her cousins in Austria, and that's something that they do. Like they keep fat on the table for their toast, or if they have like mashed potatoes, sometimes they'll put it on the mashed potatoes. And she was just like, you actually do that, and she tried it, and she was like, it was okay, but it was just it was a weird concept to her.
Oh, what, like pork dripping on toast? Oh no, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she was just.
That sounds.
God damn it! Y'all making me hungry.
Yep.
Like it doesn't horrify me. Like I can understand it because it would taste like bacon on your toast, but
better. It's better.
But I mean, for us, like especially my family, I say I'm on a diet. Like, there's a good reason why I think when I moved out, like I went the way I did, because my parents had started this diet back when we were like maybe 10 or 11. And it never really stopped. It just changed all the time, And I think we got tired of it. It was just like, listen, we understand that you want us to eat healthy, and I respect that. But, sometimes you have to just enjoy life a little. I'm not saying eat junk food, but like if they had cooked a little bit more fun, I think we would have been better off. It's one of those things where like I think people who like cook fun food at home are actually doing a little bit better for their kids necessarily than just buying stuff. Because like you can make a pizza at home, have it be healthy, have it be fun, have it be something really delicious, and your kids will see how you've done it, and they can appreciate something that's a little bit naughty on the diet list.
It's the people that go out and they'll buy like a Chicago style frozen pizza or something like that. Don't get me wrong,
They're
enjoy
tasty.
Chicago. Yeah, they're tasty as fuck. I love a Chicago deep dish pizza. I do.
Yeah.
But not like a quarter of a fucking slice loaded up with like a load of fries on the plate as well, or pasta or something along that. Yeah, that kind of like throw it together meal. When that's every night, there's something. You're gonna end up with issues there. And then your kids will grow up not really sort of making enough time for cooking for themselves, so they'll end up doing the throw together meals every night, and then you end up with this sort of like third, fourth generation down the line of people that don't enjoy cooking. It's too much effort for them, or they can't find enough time to do it, and they're just eating shite.
I think that's why I can appreciate my mom. I mean, don't get me wrong, she could have let me do a little bit more in the kitchen. It's just she's a little bit OCD and a little bit of a control freak. But at least she let me handle the vegetables. Like, she always let me help peel them. She always let me help cut them up. So at least I'd had some experience with the knife. had experience peeling. She just didn't like me anywhere near the stove, because she was just like, your child should never be by the stove. And I'm like, you know, once I hit 12, I was like, Mom, by 12, you should be letting me at least make macaroni and cheese. And by the time I was 15, I put my foot down, and then I started making macaroni and cheese. But I have the opinion that if I ever do have kids, that's basically it. I'm going to have them start learning how to do prep when they're little. I don't mind getting them like knives that are probably safer for children, because you can do that. Or get them pip gloves if you're really that anal about it.
Well, you get them to peel potatoes or something, Potato peeler is not all that dangerous unless you're in a British prison.
But yeah, like I do have the belief of my kids learning how to cook, and I don't mind teaching them how to cook poor either. Like, there are ways to cook poor where not every ingredient's going to be great, but for the most part, you can make it healthy.
That's the point, though. I mean, you look at like a lot of Indian cooking and a lot of Chinese cooking. A lot of it is like, the reason why they use these spices is because the meat is shit.
Mm-hmm.
The meat is like literally whatever they could come across. Those, all the jokes about them eating like dogs and cats and now bats, snakes. It's because it's the only meat that they could reasonably come across.
Mm-hmm.
And so the spices are there to first of all to kill anything in it.
Yeah.
And to make it taste good. And so, you don't have to spend an awful lot of money cooking decent food. You really don't. No.
And there's lots of things that I've learned over the years that I could pass on to my kids to teach them how to cook it, properly. The only time I really buy frozen food at this point is mostly just because I can't keep up with my brother. I've given up on it. So I buy him stuff that's at least in between. Like, it's not going to be the healthiest thing, because I can't do that for him. Like, I can't afford to. But I get as close to it as I can, like even down to the chicken nuggets. Like, honestly, there's no flavor to those things. They're so gross. But
flavorless chicken nuggets is a fucking thorn in my heart.
I know.
It really is.
I know.
A man has to have his nugs.
I know. But at least it's something that I can get for him. And like, he has learned to stretch it out, because I've told him, like, because we do get help from my parents. Like, we're on a limited budget based off of what we get from the government too. Yeah. We can only buy so much food. So I refuse to do that to my parents. And I've told them that. I'm like, listen, what you get has to stretch you at least 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
So if you eat it all, then I can't help you. You know, I'll cook sometimes. Like if it's really bad, like we have frozen meat, we have vegetables and stuff like that. I will cook for us, but I will only cook enough for what I think we should eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, he does appreciate that. You know, I mean, he does appreciate that. But like, he's resorted to pasta. Like, you know, like he'll go through a jar of pasta sauce, which I'm trying to convince him that like only half a jar is needed, like half of a jar. Even like maybe like you know, leaving a third of it, and then when you open another jar, just a third of that, and then, you know, because he
stagger it a bit. Yeah.
He doesn't understand that what he's actually doing is he's just wasting sauce, because he doesn't eat all the sauce. He eats all the noodles. He eats all the meatballs, because I figured out how to get him to put some meat in it so it's a little bit more filling. So he puts the meatballs in it with now, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you're gonna get more. These are pre-cooked meatballs, so I horrified my mom with this, but like I got him to start boiling the meatballs in with the noodles. So he'll start boiling the meatballs first, and then he puts the pasta in with them.
Yeah.
So it just absorbs most of the water, and I'm just like, this is great, because now he's actually getting full from both the meatball and the water, so he's not eating it all. Like he gets full faster, and I'm just trying to get him. I got to figure a good mix of vegetables, because the problem up here in Canada is most mixed vegetables, like the frozen stuff. He hates peas, and I don't blame him for that. A lot of people hate peas. You can't mask peas. I've tried.
It depends on the peas that you get. I imagine that Oh, sorry, Nathan.
No, it's okay. No,
could you turn your outbound up a little bit? You're really quiet for me. I'm very conscious about talking over you.
No, it's okay. I'm suffering a chest infection, so.
That makes sense.
And stuff, so. Yeah, no worries.
Let me I'll turn my outbound down a little bit, and then I can turn my sound up.
Yeah, no, like, it's just, you can turn it into a pea paste, and then that shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I've tried that with him. The thing is he doesn't like the flavor of it. And the thing is he's got, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't like the flavor of it. Because I've done that before. Like I've added it to mashed potatoes before. You know, to try to max. Yeah, exactly. And a little bit of butter and a little bit of a little bit of cheese to it. I added a little bit of like Asagio cheese to it.
How's he feel about onions?
He likes onions.
Onions are a very good way of covering up the flavor of peas.
Yes.
So if you were to do like sort of a pea puree kind of thing, and then add in some sweated onions, and then continue to cook the whole sort of thing, that's a really, really good way, because the oil, the juices, whatever in the onions, that bleeds out into the mix. I used to do it for the kids all the time. Yep. Because they were the same. They didn't like peas.
Yeah, I've done the cooked peas with butter. Like I've done the cooked peas with butter. Yeah, that one failed, but I'll try yours too. Like it's one of those things where like I get where he's coming from. Like there's some things where you just don't like the flavor of something. I'm like that with seafood. You know, like I am legit like that with seafood. So I can appreciate that. I actually have offered to buy him fish before too. I've just been like, you know, I don't know how to cook raw fish. You know, I do know how to cook salmon, actually. Like, I had to do that for our program at Sobeys. But I'm a little bit fussy about it, because it's one of those things where I'll do my best to cook it, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be good, because fish is fussy. It can dry out really quickly. And I would feel terrible serving something to somebody that wasn't good, you know? Especially when I can't try it to appreciate it. Like if I put it in my mouth, I can at least see if it's dry, but I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to be like, oh, this is delicious, because it's gross to me. And it's the same with like shrimp and all of it. Like there's a certain flavor to seafood that I think it's the water.
Is it that sort of like, that's almost soil-like?
Yeah.
I understand that.
It's just I you know, the only time I've ever appreciated shrimp, there was so much garlic butter on it, like it was like a soup.
That's how they should be, though. They must be drowned in garlic butter.
You know, and it was just like,
please take the heads off. I don't like it looking at me.
Oh God, yeah, it
creeps me out a little.
I had a staff party where this Korean lady brought these steamed shrimp, and she looked really offended that I wouldn't eat them, and she was like, "It's because it's got the legs on it." And it was like, "No, I just don't like shrimp. I don't like seafood." And she just looked so disappointed. So I was like, "Okay, listen, I'm doing this because I'm your friend. I do not like seafood, so if I make a face, this isn't you. But I'm doing this because I'm your friend." And so I ate it, and I put ranch on it first, and then I ate it.
Oh my god, ranch.
It was the only sauce that was there.
That's
She didn't bring any like she didn't even.
Do you know how they make ranch dressing? What they do? They take a food processor and they shove a whole cake in it. Okay, and then they turn it on, and then they add vinegar and oil and old engine oil. It's a whole cake. Okay.
Now you're starting to sound like my grandmother's cooking.
Deep fried garden hose.
See, I have a love-hate for ranch dressing. I have a hate for the stuff you buy off the shelf because that stuff is gross, and anything that is a cream of any sort, even if there's no legit cream in it, shouldn't last for 2 years. I have that rule. But like fresh, like homemade ranch dressing, like, you know, where they've actually made it with buttermilk and, you know, that they've made it fresh. Yeah, it's good. I don't mind it. It's just, it's a heavy ingredient. You know, like proper mayo is a heavy ingredient. And when you use it knowing that. Like, if you're going to eat it, you have to know what's in it. My mom actually appreciated that when she was in Austria, because every meal that she had, like, the portions were oddly right. Like, you know, the meat was wrong for certain things. Like, she had schnitzel one night. It was her treat. And like the schnitzel, she was like, you know, you didn't get more than one piece, but that one piece was enough because it was fucking huge. But it came with every meal came with like a little tiny portion of potato salad. Oh yeah. Yep.
I'm a fan of potato salad. Well, I say that I'm a fan of we call it Piemontese. You probably find it in Canada as well. It's probably the Quebecers have probably stolen it. It's potato salad basically as you know it, but there's like chunks of ham and tomato and egg and sometimes cheese, sliced baby gherkin, you know, Cornichon gherkins. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that
we have
is
that.
good shit. That is a sandwich filler by itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do know that one. Yeah, actually, the jerkins is a little bit different because some people add pickles to it and some people don't. But that's a pickle person.
Jerkins.
Jerkins, yeah.
You're trying to say gherkins or jergens?
Jergens.
Or you jerkin the gherkin?
Tickle the pickle.
Yeah, my mom had
getting it on with a Cornichon.
My mom has a tendency to do like it's still a creamy potato salad, but hers was always kind of a little bit more of a vinaigrette style.
Yeah, I prefer it that way.
And I always kind of picked up on that. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't always necessarily do it as vinegary as she would do it because hers was sometimes a little bit stronger than mine. But if it didn't have that, it wasn't right. The only alternative to that, though, was if I didn't have enough vinegar, sometimes I would substitute it with pickle juice, which is amazing.
Well, that's basically vinegar anyway, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's amazing too. It's also amazing too.
It's crystal vinegar with like what, dill and star anise or something.
Yeah, there's one recipe that I stole that like it's not technically mine, but it kind of has a dill pickle feel to it, and it's when they make the pasta salad, they do use dill pickle juice for their vinegar, and then they add more dill to it, and then they add a bunch of pickles, and I would change up the cheese because they just used regular standard cheddar. Like I would rather go for a stronger cheddar because that's me. So I like Irish cheddar. I've been into the Irish cheddar lately because it's nice, but
I fucking despair of this notion of American cheddar. I really fucking do. There's only one place cheddar comes from, and that's Cheddar fucking Gorge, people. It's like, oh, we tried some Italian champagne. You mean Prosecco? It's Italian champagne. No, it fucking isn't. If it's not from Champagne, it's not champagne.
Refers to the region in which it's made, not the recipe.
Yes. Now, if you wanted to say Sauvignon,
swine.
if you wanted to say Sauvignon in reference to wine, sure, there are Sauvignon grapes. Sure. Fuck off, California. You're not having them. No, but I know what you mean about having a good strong cheddar, a good sharp cheddar. There's I mean, it's mass produced cheddar, but there's this company in the UK called Cathedral City. They make a good cheddar.
City,
yeah. It's not a diss to, well, it is actually a diss to our cheddar, because like if you're buying something off the shelf and it's glow in the dark orange, just so you know, that's not natural. There's nothing about that's natural. That is food coloring.
Also, I'll be right back.
Yeah, like a natural cheddar that has been aged, it will eventually turn a little bit orange, but it's an off orange. It's more of a yellow than an orange.
It's actually funny story on that. You can achieve that color, but it's not through culture or age. You have to add cheese mites.
Okay.
You have to. There's a Dutch cheese called Mimolette, and it's banned in the US and probably Canada as well. The FDA hates it. It's one of those quote unquote bug cheeses.
Oh.
Yeah. I was trying to put a recipe together for useless. It's a variation on tartiflette that I've sort of developed. I call it my Red Devil tartiflette because it uses a bit of jalapeno in there to give it, a bit of a kick, a bit of paprika, and then to top it off, rather than using simple reblochon or Saint-Nectaire, I top it with, like I say, either something like Mimolette or you can use Red Leicester, but it doesn't taste the same. The Red Leicester quite kind of overpowers the white wine. But yeah, and I was trying to put this recipe together for useless, and every single fucking red cheese I looked for is unavailable in the States.
I think about the most fanciest cheese we ever really got was this one from the Netherlands that was a 4-year aged Gouda.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's good stuff. That.
Gouda is Gouda.
And it was like a crystallized cheese.
Yep.
And it was good. It's just, for some reason, my coworker was obsessed with the idea of pairing it with dark chocolate.
Yes.
And I got where she was going with it, but I was like, if you'd chosen a different dark chocolate, it would have been better, because she went with this like cheap stuff.
High cocoa. Gotta be high cocoa.
Yeah.
Or it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like you've got a high-end cheese, you should pair it with a high-end chocolate. And the thing is like we have to pay for that when we do those demos. And I was like, I understand where you're coming from, but like even if you go to like the bins, there's at least the Bernard Callebaut stuff. Like they call it Callebaut because Bernard's no longer a part of it, but at least it's a better chocolate. Yeah. It's not a full dark chocolate though, but it's a better chocolate, and it's still dark. It's just she would go for this cheap, poor end, no-name stuff. And I was just like, the stuff in the bin is really cheap, and you can cut it up into smaller pieces because it's already in chunks.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to chocolate, it doesn't have to be necessarily like name brand or anything. But
no,
if you're doing the whole cheese and chocolate combo.
Yeah, it just has to be good. It's just
the stuff 90 to 95% minimum. It needs to have that bitterness to offset it against the maturity of the cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other nice ones that she could have paired, like they had, and this is one of those ones where I would have probably done it on my own. Like I would have even put my own money into it. But like they had these flavored chocolates. So they had like a pepper, like a chili one. And then they had they had an espresso one, and I was like, if I were to go for any of them, I would go for the espresso one, because that would pair, especially because our community was quite heavy for Europeans actually. And I was like, that would hit the market with those guys, because you'd actually be selling two products at the same time, because they'll probably go for the chocolate too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want to do when you're sampling. But like I said, you have to go off a budget. And Sobeys does not like to spend money unless they know that they're going to have an investment involved. And they're really dumb when it comes to that. Like they really, really are. Like when I left there, they'd started this huge health program that took up like a third of the store, and it's all like powders and teas. And I'm like, I get that you want people to be more healthy, but you've taken up a third of your store for this crap, and it's really high end, expensive stuff. And you're in an area where down the street there's a superstore where you can buy your groceries for like 2/3 of the price. Like they just
They're kind of like the Walgreens, then I take it.
Yeah, they
of
really
Canada.
are. Yeah, they really are. And then they bought up Safeway, and honestly, it was a miss down here because Safeway, for one thing, they had to close down half the stores between their Sobeys locations and their Safeway locations because there were so many of them. And then for two, Safeways has a union, a really strong American union too. And
same in the UK.
And Sobeys hates the idea of a union because, in all honesty, they are pretty harsh with their employees. They're like, you have a job, so that's all you need. You should be happy because you have a job, and that's how they look at things. And you have to really work up to grow in there. And a lot of it's weaselly. Like some of it's like, I have to press my uniform to come to work to go anywhere. And I'm like, this isn't a military. I clean my uniform as often as I can, but I only make so much money, and I have to pay for my at the time I was living in an apartment building, so I had to pay for my laundry too. Yeah. So it was like, yeah, if I had, because I worked with raw food too, like if I used raw food, automatically it goes in the cleaner. Like I don't wear that again until it's clean. Yeah. But at the same time, though, like I'm still having to transport my clothing to and from work. Like, that wrinkles up your uniform. Like, regardless of whether or not you press it, you put it in a backpack, and it's going to be wrinkly by the time you take it out.
Clearly, Sobeys is run by those Chinese Jews.
Oh, they really are. They really are. And I was like, you know what? I could put up with that. Like my first location, like the boss there was okay with us because he he saw me take stuff out of my backpack, and he was like, I would have it in a plastic bag inside my backpack. And he's like, why do you go to this extent? And I'm like, because I'm afraid of like transferring anything from outside to the food that I work with. And he respected that.
Yeah.
I liked
real quick, we lost function.
Yeah, we did. He might have, are you going to come back in? Oh, there he is.
Yep.
Yeah, actually,
there we
just hit the wrong button.
No worries. I was a little bit worried because I'm ranting on this one, but like he was a good boss, and you know what? He was from the UK. He was a British guy, and God, it was funny because I was during my Hitalia phase where I just discovered that show. So I started describing this English dude that was supposed to be the representative of England, and he'd walk by and he would just shake his head. I'm like, I'm not making this up, man. I'm just telling you about the show. I'm like, it's better than what the other girls are talking about because they're talking about Sailor Moon. At least mine's talking about like some part of history, and it's interesting when you walk by because you can fact check me on this stuff, and I would love it if you did because then I could challenge this community of nerds.
Fucking Sailor Moon,
right?
So
my ex-wife had a fascination with Sailor Moon.
My friend sent me this tweet. It's from Boston Market. And it says, what's something you can say to both your rotisserie chicken and your significant other? And she wrote, I prefer you without skin, to which Boston Market replied, what? Oh my God. She's a genius.
Oh, good God.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'd have probably said something along the lines of, I'm going to put my dick in you later on.
I want to stuff you full of yumminess.
Oh, good God. Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to fill you with cream.
Oh, God.
In your chicken? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Cream
garlic,
of chicken,
garlic,
man.
Garlic cream
garlic
on
butter.
chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, the creamed, canned cream chicken soup. I've seen people use that for a stock. You could probably do that.
Huh?
I don't know how, but you could probably do
cream
that.
corn.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, I'm gonna fill you with cream of mushroom soup.
Yes, I am.
Oh, dude. Never use yogurt as food in like part of bedroom play. Fucking Jesus! Like it
That
might
sounds like you're asking for a yeast infection. Actually, in hindsight,
actually it prevents yeast infections.
Really?
Would you believe it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's probiotic. Breaks
Okay.
down yeast.
okay.
Mhm.
I mean, that's still kind of weird because, like, I'm thinking
is.
of like how bad that would be afterwards. Regardless, I think you might have different problems then.
I'm just saying, trying to fucking lick yogurt off of your
Mhm.
significant other. It sounds fun for like the first 5 minutes, but when you're like 5 pots in, Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah, that's true.
She didn't tell me to stop, okay? So I'm like, fuck. I'm like midway through like the 5th part, I'm thinking, shit, I'm gonna have to break out the other half of the multi-pack here.
See which flavor goes with the best.
Oh,
See, I could respond to this with something, but then that would mean confessing to more shit, and I think I've done enough confessions for today. So
Cleanse your soul, Jen. Come to
No
the dark
Mexican
side.
confessions.
give me 3 Hail Marys and continue.
Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. Oh God, is she behind me? Holy shit! Sorry. That's a different Mary.
That's Bloody Mary.
Yep. No, but I was gonna joke like, if did she ever give you a blowjob, and did you ever come in her mouth? Because if you have, then that's fair game.
I mean, well, yes.
Fair game. Because that
I'm-
stuff is
I'm-
nasty.
I'm missing something here.
That shit is nasty.
About the
Look,
It's just nasty.
okay. There's a very, very simple solution for the aspiring gentleman out there. Just eat fucking pineapple.
amen
Seriously?
to that one. 100%.
It does. It genuinely works. It genuinely
does.
works.
Yeah.
The worst thing is I was in this guy's car and it was nice, and I was just like, you better pull over, buddy, because you got a nice car and your upholstery looks like it's made from leather, and you don't want this on your car. And he was like, okay.
It's a trap!
We have learned so much about Jen today.
I just
Fantastic.
First and last time too.
It's not.
I really want to say I'm surprised because I want to be nice, but I've known Jen long enough for this actually to not surprise me.
First and last time too. Just saying.
Oh Jesus!
I don't actually have that many. Like, it sounds like I have a lot of relationships, but the thing is that that's one hand. It doesn't go past that one hand. It doesn't go past that one hand. So, like,
Oh,
I don't feel bad about.
I mean, you got to make the most of what you got, right?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Let's
I hope
not
I didn't
get
yell
in-
that too
let's
loud.
not
I
get
hope it was
into.
too loud. I hope it was
At
too
least,
loud.
at least we can say one thing is that you're about the quality, not the quantity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And I rationalize a lot. I rationalize it a hell of a lot. Like, there's a lot of times where I rationalize myself and the whole thing, and that's not good either. But it's not a bad thing either.
Cynic says my mate tried to eat. Hold on. My mate tried to eat M&Ms out of his girlfriend. Didn't consider that they would melt all over the place.
Oh God. No.
Look, sugar and snoo do not go together.
No, they do not.
I think that broke me.
That's why you use Smarties instead.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, think her candy shell.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, last longer at least. I mean, she might have different colors down there, and those might blend in after a while. But
Well, cheaper dye jobs, right?
right?
She had lips that could suck the blue off a Smartie.
So I'm going to tell another story, but this one isn't as embarrassing. This one isn't as bad. It's just one of those things where I have to laugh at the parents nowadays who are like, oh my god, the things kids find on the internet. So when I was younger and I was exploring the internet, looking up things on the internet really wasn't that hard, and lying about your age was super easy.
Yeah.
So I
If this
stumbled
story
on.
ends with you eating ass, I'm out.
Oh hell no! Oh hell no! Oh no!
I'm
I
taking my
was
pants
super
off.
young for this. It's just
Yeah,
I,
I've got that angle covered functional. Don't worry.
Oh, the things Sam can do with that tongue.
it was just one of those things where I'd stumbled upon this porn site. And so I'd watch this porn, and it was one of those things that made me laugh so hard that I watched the whole thing twice because it was so fucking funny. So basically, it was this story about these vampires, and the vampires had tattoos of like vampire mouths on their genitalia.
Oh, good
So they
God.
look like mouths, like open, gaping, like tongues. And
I've
shit.
seen this.
And I just thought it was so fucking funny because they just ran around like either banging each other, screwing each other. There was this one chick that they were trying to bang, or I don't know if they were trying to change her into a vampire or what the story was because it made absolutely no sense. But like
Muffy the vampire banger or something along those lines.
yeah, but the faces on the genitalia were just so fucking funny. And my mentality, because I was a teenager, I was just like, what the fuck is this shit, And it was just, I was like, this is so fucking funny. I think I shared it with every friend that I had. I was just like, you need to watch this shit. This is amazing. So sharing dick pics is not a new story, Just saying.
Yeah. As Cynic rightly says, and then to eat the poo-poo.
And then they eat the poo-poo. Oh, it was great. It was great stuff. I'm just like, oh. But then I had to lie about the search history. That was amazing too. I was like, well, my brother's still living at home. I can blame that one on him. I don't question my brother's taste, Dad. I don't know what you're talking about. I stay away from stuff. I mean, I've had a few close calls with some pop-ups, but I haven't had anything. I haven't had anything like that.
I'll never forget the first time I got caught. I just very, very hastily came up. There was a pop-up, and I clicked it to get rid of it, and then this, and then videos, and my dad looked at the fucking thing. He fucking knew. He fucking knew.
Oh,
but he
shit,
did me
this bitch got a dick.
Here's another confession from a girl. Like, here's the thing with women is they will send each other raunchy shit just for kicks.
Oh, I know.
Just the same as men do. They absolutely do. They will send it just because they know it's funny and they want to see your expression. Be like, oh, that's just disgusting.
I kind of had to draw the line at one point though. Like, my ex-wife used to ask me for fucking dick pics while I was at work. Just because she knew I wouldn't turn her down. I kind of did have to draw the line when she started like sending them on to her friends and all that kind of thing. I mean, she wouldn't say it was me, but she would pass them around, and I'm like, to see what their reactions would be. And I'm like, come on, you'd get mad if I did that with my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
That was before the operation, obviously. I'm just kidding.
Before it was a donkey, and now it's like an elephant.
No.
He's got
The joke is she'd get mad if I sent around pictures of her dick.
Yeah, I was trying not to think that. It's a trap.
Oh, Jesus. Well, she might not have had a penis, but believe me, during the divorce, she fucked me.
Oh, right in the ass. Right in the ass.
Right over the barrel.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Got her.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I don't necessarily have objections to women having seen pictures of my dick that I didn't necessarily like send to them or what have you. I'm not big on the whole dick pic thing. It was more just to keep her entertained than anything else. I'm not opposed to other women seeing what I've got going on down there, but like at least ask me first, for fuck's sake.
At the same time, though, it's almost like she was advertising for you, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yes, there is that.
Like, at least she was confident in herself, but I mean, like,
I think she was just bragging at that point.
Like,
Yeah, but then what would it be like? One of her friends being like, "Hey, I saw your dick. How you doing?" You know?
Or it'd
Funny
be
story.
worse, where her friend would come back and be like, "I know that dick." What?
I mean, most of the. I'd say most
That
of the friends.
reminds me of Porky's.
A handful of our mutual friends over here and friends did know that dick.
Ooh.
Look,
Ooh.
I mean,
This
there's a whole
tea is getting very
reason I
hot.
decided to import. You know,
Take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away.
Wow! Wow!
oh, Jesus.
He knows what to do with an eggplant and not just a vegetable.
Yes, here it's the aubergine. We borrow the ober from the Germans.
I mean, sure, horse cock is all nice and everything, but have you seen whale cock? Do you want to?
Excuse me, madam, but oh, jeez. Would you
Can you help me from dry drowning?
Would you, excuse me, madam? Do you suck balls? How about sucking these balls? Oh my God, this ball's smooth as eggs.
Oh,
Thank you, Dave
Chris
Chappelle.
Rock. Oh, yeah, Chappelle, sorry.
Wow. Just because he's black functional.
So another thing I'm going to claim, because I'm just saying that Steven took my idea after I'd said it like years ago, but I'd said before, you know how sometimes the feminists get bitchy because men sit with their legs a little bit apart because they have balls. And I'd said ages ago that I knew that was actually an issue for some dudes, because I remember seeing a kid actually sit on his before, and the way he broke down in tears, and like I could do the measurement of distance from the floor to how far he fell, and the way he cried, I felt so bad for him.
The old space opera, yeah.
Absolutely felt so bad for him. So I'd actually said long before that we should invent a pair of underwear that mimics what that's like for women. So when they sit down with those, they actually understand. And I mean, legit ones.
And randomly as well, yeah. Not all the time.
I'm not talking about the guys who are like exaggerating, because yes, there are some guys who are like, I know you're exaggerating, like your balls aren't that big, but I do know that you do have an issue with that. And I was always so offended by the whole thing. I'm like, you bitches are the ones who refuse to move your bags off the seat, so shut up. I mean, the occasional pregnant woman, I can appreciate them being a little bit upset, but here's the thing: how many women are getting up for you too, huh? You know, I'm not pregnant. I can get up for you. Why does it have to be a man? Why do you have to be a sexist pig and assume that it has to be a man?
It's the fucking bit that gets me. It's like, I didn't get her pregnant. It's not my fucking baby.
Exactly.
Well, at this point, why do you need to be nice at this point? Because they're not even asking you nicely. They're not even giving you the benefit of the doubt of you being legit kind.
I would extend the question. Yeah. Would you like would you like my seed? And then maybe if they said no, it's fine. I'd be a little bit insistent, but politely so. But no, these women that and kids as well that like. I mean, they all used to do it on like school buses, put their bag on the fucking seat next to them. It's like, motherfucker, that's what the bag rack's for. Put it under your seat. But no, as regards to the men sitting on their own balls occasionally, which happens, it's a very, very simple solution. The average female vagina is like anywhere between sort of 10 to 15 centimeters deep, 5 to 6 inches deep. At the end of that, there's something called a cervix. So what we have to do is get like a 7 to 8 inch dildo, and then make them sit down quickly on that. It's comparable.
Yeah.
Women, if you've ever been punched
in the ovaries.
Well, it's if you've ever had your cervix punched against in some which way, girls, yeah, it's like that. It's not very nice, and you feel it deep inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I've always appreciated that. It's also one of my biggest death threats to a dude. Like, and honestly, I would only ever do it if I felt my life was in legit danger. Like, I thought, I'm gonna die, this person's gonna kill me in the worst kind of way. But like the kick to the balls, if I were to do it, I would be going for the death strike, because I know for a fact that can kill a dude.
Grab, twist, and pull.
The old dick twist.
Yeah, you just grab it, twist it, and throw it as far as you can.
There's no other reason I would ever do that,
bag.
though. There's no other reason I would ever do that, though. Like, that is legit. I'm feared for my life, and I need to kill you. And I'm sorry that it has to hurt this way, but you're going to do something horrible to me, then I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do something horrible to you. But I would never, I would never really set myself up to be in a fight anyway. But if I was pulled into one and I had to like defend myself and it didn't need to get to that point, I would never use it. I would never do that, ever. Because it's not a funny thing to do to somebody.
You're basic. I mean, to do it as sort of like a non sort of like attempt on someone's life, it'd be the equivalent of shoving your hand inside a woman and attempting to pull her uterus out. It's equivalent.
Yeah.
It's equivalent.
Yeah, like I said, like that's, this like I said, like this is one of those self-defense things. Like, there are other ways that you can defend yourself. I mean, I probably should brush up on that anyway, just because, like, who knows what my future is going to look like in the future. But that's just so that I have other means to defend myself. So I can't, like,
it's
at least
if someone's really trying to hurt you, if someone's like attempting to rape you or kill you, something along those lines, it's that game. At that point, it's reasonable force. This is always the situation. Yeah, it's reasonable force. If some guys just like called you a bunch of names or something, going straight for the balls, I'm sorry, no, that's just not acceptable.
Yeah, that's
just not acceptable.
No, and I mean, at this point, I sometimes I actually appreciate the insults. It's when they're lazy and they put no effort into it that I get offended. Or if it's slander towards my family, because I'm like, listen, you can make fun of my shit, and I would agree with you for most of it, but don't drag my family in it, because they didn't make.
We said no
memas. they didn't make me make these decisions. Don't blame that on them. They're normal people. But yeah, like, there's not a lot that you could say to me that would really offend me. And even if you did insult my parents, I would probably just walk on, but you'd pretty much be on my shit list for forever. Yeah. But it's not worth the time for verbal confrontations. But that's also a Canadian thing too. Like, I'd rather walk away and be like, like, what a douche to somebody. I might tell somebody about it. I was this douche later, and that's it. That's it. I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm good. But violence is a different thing. Like that's one of those ones where, like, I think that comes up more often because Antifa's been a thing. They haven't been that.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, if I was part of some sort of activism or something like that, and Antifa showed up, I know, like, they might not be carrying guns or anything like that, but I know what they're there to do. I know what they're there to do, and you better believe if some fucking hippie-looking bitch is carrying a bike lock or something like that, I will punch her straight in the fucking ovaries. I will.
I don't blame you.
I'm not trying to kill her. But if she comes at me with some fucking, great piece of metal and starts swinging it about, I'm gonna go for the disabling strike. I am. At that point, she's engaged me.
Yeah, but also nothing says friendly end to the fight pretty quickly if you gouge out their eyeballs with your keys. I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and you get a collection of eyeballs.
I just don't want to end up in a new, like. This is the thing. Like, if a woman attacks a guy, I'm not all for these like long, protracted, drawn out fucking things where it goes on and they're slapping backwards and forwards or anything like that. Put a quick end to it. My reputation's down the shitter already. There's no two ways about that.
No, exactly.
You can't as a man, particularly a man of my size, you cannot defend yourself against a woman and not be called a fucking misogynist piece of shit by at least 30% of the general population. You just can't. So, get it over and done with quickly, so that she can't actually do you any real damage. Because there's nothing worse, there's nothing worse than having your skull half staved in and then also being considered a misogynistic piece of shit.
Yeah. No, I understand. It's just like, a feminist friend of mine, she was going and saying, "Oh, I should be ashamed of my penis," and I just looked at her. I said, "I'm over 300 pounds right now. Do you want to fight me?" And she was like 120 or whatever. She's just like, "Well, no, because you're a guy and you shouldn't hit me." I said, "So you're
Where's
a
your
feminist."
fucking equality?
Exactly. I could literally crush you with my weight alone if you were to fight me right now. I said, "Don't give me this bullshit. If you were to come and hit me or attack me, I am well within my rights to defend myself. If I kill you because I crush you with my weight, that's your problem, not mine."
Yeah, I've been attacked by a crazed feminist on the subway, and one kick, and I kicked her clear across the subway car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like between us guys, if I mean, obviously we're friends, pals, acquaintances, etc.
Yeah.
If we
And
disagree on
Gentiles too.
something, well, this is more specific to guys. I think, at least, Jen will have to.
You never know. I
clarify
might agree
this.
with you.
It's it's not a conscientious thing, like it's not written anywhere, but we do have this understanding that in real life, face to face or whatever, if we have a disagreement or what have you, there's a certain line we just don't cross.
Sure.
Or if we do cross that line, we have to be prepared to physically defend ourselves. There's always that. It's not really a threat. It's just there's a threshold. There's a certain threshold, and if we want it to remain friendly and all that kind of thing, we don't go near that threshold. The problem with like modern day feminists is they've never had their asses handed to them. They've never been involved in a beatdown in the school playground or anything along those lines.
It's not so much that. It's women. It's not so much that women don't get physical. It's just it's very rare, and when it does happen, it's usually for a good reason.
Yes.
But the thing is they've become erratic with it. Even with girl fights, there's usually reasons behind it. I mean, there's usually stupid reasons, but there's usually reasons behind it. With them, they've just inflamed themselves about everything to do with men and patriarchy. Anything that comes up with them, and I mean, yes, there are the few, like, the Christina Hoff Summers where you can at least have a dialogue with her. You can have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
You might have a lot of things that you disagree on, but she'll at least hear you out.
Yeah.
She's not being...
And maybe even change her mind if you are right. And she can talk to you in such a way that she can change your mind if she's right. Yeah.
But the thing is they're not coming out like her anymore. She's probably a dying breed. And the thing is,
she respects men though, Jen. That's the kind of thing. She she doesn't just respect men from like the human to human point of view. She also realizes that, men have limits. And if you push them past those limits, they are going to fucking hurt you. And modern feminists don't have that. They don't have an understanding of the physical damage that men can inflict. And I'm not saying that as like a threat to all women, like women shouldn't fuck with us because we'll kill you. But women shouldn't fuck too much with men because men can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be that understanding.
Like, honestly, I'm probably... I think too much, and honestly, I appreciate my dad for this, because he did teach me about archery really early in life, and it was one of those things where I realized that that's one of those things where I could actually be strong with, because once I realized the distance between my eyes and my glasses wasn't going to hold me back so long as my mind did the math. I'm very capable of ranged attacks. And that's where I was like, that's pretty much my best bet against a dude, is to find something that I can throw that's going to have enough power behind it to knock him out enough to get the fuck away and then run.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I leaned. And I actually cheat a little bit because I am able to use both of my arms.
I'm not. Again, I'm not suggesting that it should ever come to violence
I
between
know,
men and women.
it should never.
Men, yes,
No, of course.
you're not supposed to hit women. They are
No.
physically weaker, and therefore chivalry, nobility, yada yada yada. You don't attempt to physically dominate those that are physically weaker than you just because you can.
Yeah.
If you can restrain a woman that's hitting you, attacking you, what have you, please do that first. Once it starts to get out of fucking hand, though, if she picks up some sort of weapon while she's attacking you, knock her ass the fuck out.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing that I got to really call them out for. I really hate that they've painted the majority of men in this brush. Now, here's the thing: the guys that you were afraid of are usually the most trustworthy. I get that. Sometimes they are. That is a legit fact. That's how a lot of those guys get in. But here's the thing: most guys aren't that dude. Most guys are not that dude. Most
guys are good. Just like most women are good.
If I learned that self-defense, it was because that is one of those fences that you have to go through. I don't think every woman ever faces that, but on the off chance that you are, I do believe you should be prepared, because everybody, it doesn't matter what gender you are. There is a good chance that you encounter someone who might challenge your life.
Exactly.
And I believe in self-defense for that reason too, because it doesn't matter if it's a guy who's trying to rape me. What if it's a guy who's just trying to rob me? He could try to take my life, and he might not even care about the fact that I'm a woman. He just wants money.
Exactly.
And that's geared a lot towards men, and I do know that because there's been a few guys. My biggest memory is one of my favorite gay men was this. He was so straight you would never know he was gay. But he was very, we would have conversations about anime all the time. And sometimes he would tell me stuff that, you talk between a gay guy and a girl. There are those conversations that happen. But there was this one time where I was working a late shift and I was on my last break, and it was late, and we were right next to a bar, and this guy came out, and he must have had the beer goggles on, because I was disgusting as hell at the time.
Believe me, look, sometimes we don't care. Sometimes actually it makes you kind of want it more, because it's kind of like nobody else is ever going to have it. There's sort of like an anti-attractiveness.
Here's how I can appreciate, there really is a difference between a man and a woman, and it was just he automatically kind of stepped up. He didn't really need to do anything. He didn't be overly aggressive. He just kind of stood up a little bit straighter, and he stood a little bit closer to me, a little bit, raised his shoulders up and made his presence known. And all that did, the other guy just stopped right away, exactly. And it became friendly. I made sure it stayed friendly. It was just listen, dude, you're really drunk. Come back tomorrow and see what I look like. And trust me, you'll thank me for being honest with you. Cause I just come out of cleaning. Like I said, I've told this one before, but I just come out of skewering chickens, some of my shirt had blood on it. I'm like, dude, I'm not even sanitary right now. My arms are away from my chest while I'm smoking too, because I'm well aware of the fact that I was going to go upstairs and change.
Hello there.
It was gross, so like I said, there is a definite difference. I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own. This guy probably wouldn't have harmed me either, but at the same time though, I would have had to have gone in earlier and just walk back to my department, which would have pissed me off because I really wanted that smoke.
Yeah. No, that is the thing. I mean, you even see it with feminine gay guys as well. When it really comes down to it, they can square up. They might scratch and slap and bite and all the kinds of more feminine sort of fight tactics and all that kind of thing. But there is there's very definitely a difference between a feminine or effeminate gay guy fight and a woman fight. Yeah. There's still that base primal masculinity there. Mm-hmm.
And the amazing thing too is I could really appreciate how tall this guy was, because I think he was 6'3" or something, but he, it was a little bit about with him being gay, he had a tendency to slouch a little bit. And I was like, you really should just stand up tall. You look really good when you stand up tall.
Yeah.
But like, when he stood up tall, it was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, there's 6'3", and then there's 6'3".
But like, and women do appreciate that. Like, I appreciated that right away. Like, that's why he's one of my better friends that I would say that like I would go back and contact again. It's just he has his own life, and he has a husband, which I don't care. I honestly don't. I don't give a shit. I'm happy for the two of them, but his boyfriend is way too into Saint Seiya, and it disturbs me sometimes because he still shares pictures with me.
Way too much into one. Sorry.
Saint Seiya is an anime.
Okay.
And it's like 99% male.
Oh, it's one of was it
Yaoi?
Yaoi, yeah.
It's not really yaoi, but it's got a lot of that like pandering to it. And actually, the gay community really likes it. They really like it.
like all the parodies of fucking Naruto.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, you know what? I honestly don't. Like, whatever I just sometimes I get tired of the pictures. I'm just because it's the same. It's the same storyline. The pictures actually don't change very much.
This is my frustration with a lot of anime. Honestly, it's this. Like a lot of times where it's like the otaku fucking protagonist, and it's like, oh my fucking god, can they kiss already?
Oh yeah.
Like, I know it's gonna happen. We know it's gonna happen. The chick's being really sexually aggressive and all that kind of shit. It's like, for fuck's sakes, nobody is this unaware.
Yeah.
It breaks my immersion.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was what killed me with this Saint Seiya. Like, I tried to be nice to him because I was like, everyone has their nerd thing, but like Saint Seiya has like a new season for like every 2 years, and it's been like that since like the late 80s, and I'm just like, no more. It must end. They must all contract something, and it must end. They must go on into the next life and start a new story because it's over. It's been done already.
It's quite good though. Like the generally speaking, like a lot of anime fucking bores me to tears. But I find, oddly enough, like some hentai has actually got really good storylines, and it's because it has to be shorter, and they have to put the sex scenes in and all that kind of shit. It actually does make it a damn sight more enjoyable to watch.
It does. Yeah.
It's really weird. And like some of the
really
fucking
weird.
scenery artwork they've got as well. Like
Yeah.
shit, they put some time into it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of like the romantic stuff. I find that whenever I watch anime porn, I end up in the weird section because half the time I find it funny, and the other half the time I'm horrified because it's really rapey.
I mean, the rapey stuff can be a little too much at times, honestly. But when it's more the sort of the playing coy into hardcore fantasy kind of shit, that's whatever.
Yeah,
that's whatever. I can get behind that. Wink, wink.
So some of the weird stuff though is just funny. Like
with suddenly tentacles. Yeah.
Oh god.
That's a genre too.
Well, yes, I dare say. And the different fucking types of tentacles as well. It's like there's not just one type of tentacle porn. It's really weird. Like sometimes it's like demons, and then they have slimes that ostensibly have tentacles.
I imagine the slimes are probably pretty huge right now, or at least it has been last year. Because if I think about anything, I think the last manga anime that came out that was really popular was that slime one. I didn't hate it. I did like it. I haven't finished it because it's one of those long ones that I'm like, I'll start you at some point. But I got tired of the fact that like yet again the story's kind of stretched out and it hasn't really gone anywhere. It's just some of the characters are really cool, and I kind of go back to the introductions because those were like the best scenes, and then I go back and I'm like, you really haven't changed yet.
That's kind of like how I feel about One Piece.
Yes, One Piece is the same. That's why I can't get into it. Like Fairy
I
Tail,
can't do the whole time shifting with One Piece.
Like Fairy Tail I could get into because it actually does change. Like I mean, the theme is still the same. Like like they have the family unit to the guild and the loyalty, and that's where they get their strength from. But at least
can somebody just fuck Nami already as well, please? Post time hop. Jesus Christ, her tits are the size of a small house.
Oh, that gag is so...
Jesus. They get bigger every episode, I swear. Jesus. I'm going to have to go and grab a smoke real quick, guys. Yes, my addiction's flaring up.
I was thinking we should probably end this stream.
Yeah, I've been streaming for almost 5.5 hours straight now, so
yeah,
I need to lie down. My back is freaking killing me.
No worries, this has been good. I mean, we had 10 up until now, and then we went into weird anime mode, and yeah, we've had a good time, guys. Sorry we went off the way there, but
off the beating.
every once in a while, you go from food to anime, and it's a good thing.
I never go from food to anime.
No.
Just as long as you don't go from food to animals, you'll be just fine.
But you do go from food to Star Wars, and that's okay, because you know what? I don't mind when you do that, because it makes me feel better when I go into my anime nerded. Doesn't make me feel so bad about being a nerd.
Never feel bad about being a nerd.
Right?
I thought I was a nerd, and then I met the Warhammer crowd on and I'm just like, I am not nerdy enough for this. I really appreciate the lore and all that kind of thing, and I love the fact that they're so intensely interested in this shit. I really am, but I am not that nerdy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like even when I bring up Fairy Tail, like I haven't been following that too, because they started a new arc, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna do the same thing that you did with One Piece, aren't you? You're gonna destroy what was good. You should have ended it when you could. But I do appreciate that. I still think that Natsu needs to bang Lucy. Just bang her already. She's hot. She's not bad. She's a good cat. You already like her. You've caught her a million times and stared at her titties. Also,
she wants it.
She wants it. She definitely does. Do that and then end the series, and that's good. That's it. That's all they need to do. But that's the end of the stream, folks. We're talking about anime characters banging each other, which is really depressing for me. I actually pull away from that a lot. Like I can appreciate it when I'm watching it, but
afterwards, it's just disappointment and shame.
Yes.
Which brings me back round to my sex life.
And then a package of dead batteries.
So, functional. I know you have that sound pad, and you technically played it earlier, and it was early, and that was amazing too. But we should.
Yeah. We've been the Snow Mexicans. Good night, everyone. I'm fucking in rough shape. I need to go lie down and eat.